Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Legacy here. Today, we're exploring a pretty wild fanfic scenario. What if Naruto ate Pika-Pika fruit? The fruit that Kizaru has. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you're always in the loop when a new one drops. Let's set a small goal. 51 likes on this video. I know we can hit it. Alright, let's get into it. Naruto Uzumaki knew every crack and groove in the Hokage monument's face. He'd spent enough time here, scrambling up rough stone, hiding from villagers who glared, escaping adults who muttered his name like a curse. He could climb the fourth's cheek with his eyes closed, and tonight, he nearly did. The city below was alive with lanterns, but to Naruto, it always felt dark. He pressed himself to the cold rock, chest heaving, stifling his breath. Somewhere below, angry voices echoed. Where'd that brat go? He's probably defacing the monument again. Naruto scowled. Idiots, he muttered, though the word lacked bite. He hadn't painted the Hokage's faces in weeks. Not since Irika-sensei started giving him extra homework. One of the only people in the village who seemed to care. Above, the sky was wide and clear, spattered with stars. Naruto liked this spot. It was his secret. Somewhere he could pretend he belonged among legends, not just as the prankster everyone hated. His stomach growled, sharp and insistent. Naruto clutched it, grimacing. Ramen would have to wait until tomorrow. He'd spent his last coins on a broken toy for Konoha. At least someone thinks I'm cool, he said softly, kicking a loose pebble. The pebble tumbled into the darkness below, landing with a faint, hollow thud. Naruto frowned. He'd never heard that sound before. Curiosity tickled at his senses. Glancing back over his shoulder, no pursuers in sight. He shimmied down toward the source of the noise, fingers searching the cliff for handholds. The night was cool, and every scrape of stone echoed in his ears. Halfway down the fourth Hokage's chin, his hand brushed something odd. A thin, vertical crack in the stone, cold and sharp. He pushed, and the edge shifted with a creak. A gap opened, just wide enough for a scrawny 12-year-old to squeeze through. Naruto hesitated only a moment. The village saw him as a nuisance, but he always imagined he was meant for something greater. Maybe tonight, the monument had decided to share a secret with him. He slipped inside. Inside, dust swirled in the air, catching the moonlight from a tiny slit above. Naruto blinked as his eyes adjusted. The chamber was small, barely a closet, but ancient carvings curled across the walls. Symbols he didn't understand, spirals and suns and eyes, all swirling toward a single pedestal at the center. On that pedestal sat an object like nothing he'd seen before. A fruit, round, golden, and impossibly bright, rested on a stone pillow. It pulsed gently, shedding soft rays that flickered like fireflies. Its skin was marked with swirling patterns, and every few seconds, it gave off a faint ding, like a bell struck underwater. Naruto's hunger gnawed at him. He stepped closer, almost entranced. He reached out, hesitated, then, as if pulled by fate, plucked the fruit from the pedestal. It was warm, almost alive, and the light in the chamber seemed to bend toward it. Naruto sniffed. It didn't smell rotten or dangerous. Weird, he mumbled, then, on impulse, bit in. The flavor was bizarre. Sweet, then bitter, with a metallic tang that made his eyes water. He forced down another bite, then a third, until the fruit was gone. The light in the room flared, and Naruto staggered back, clutching his chest. His body felt like it was on fire, every cell bursting with energy. For a moment, the world dissolved into white. When he opened his eyes, the fruit was gone, and his skin glowed faintly in the moonlight. What was that? He whispered. He felt changed, like the world had grown sharper, quicker, as if he could leap from stone to star if he wanted. He turned to leave, stumbling out into the open air. Below, the village was sleeping, dreaming their dreams, living their lives. Above, Naruto stood, awash in a new, strange light, the first flicker of destiny burning in his chest. The first thing Naruto noticed when he woke up was the sunlight, not from his window, but from his own skin. He stared at his hand, wiggling his fingers in disbelief. In the early morning gloom of his tiny apartment, his skin seemed to catch the dawn before it touched the windowsill, a faint golden shimmer rippling over his knuckles. He leapt from bed, breathing hard. Was it a dream? He'd found that glowing fruit, eaten it in a dusty chamber he'd never seen before. Maybe he was just hungry, or crazy, or both. He stumbled to the bathroom and splashed water on his face. The chill bit his cheeks, but his reflection shimmered, a flash of gold at the edge of his vision. Naruto reached out and touched the glass. It didn't burn him. He wasn't sick, or hurt, or even tired. He felt strong, awake, like every cell was vibrating with life. But there was no time to puzzle it out. Today was a school day, and he was already late. He pulled on his orange jumpsuit, grabbed a cold rice ball from the counter, and raced out the door, bolting down the steps two at a time. Outside, the world felt different. Each color was brighter. The air hummed, charged and alive. As he sprinted through the village, he felt impossibly light, as if his feet barely touched the ground. "Hey, watch it!" A shopkeeper waved a broom as Naruto zipped past. But before the man could finish shouting, Naruto was already halfway down the block. His legs churned, but it felt more like flying. The wind stung his eyes, and for a split second, it was as if the buildings themselves blurred by in streaks of color. He blinked and nearly crashed into Iruka-sensei, who was waiting in front of the academy, arms crossed. "Naruto, you're late again." Iruka's voice was stern, but not unkind. "You can't keep running, huh?" Naruto skidded to a halt, feet smoking on the flagstones. For a heartbeat, he could have sworn he'd arrived even before Iruka realized it. Iruka blinked, confused. Did you just? Never mind. Get inside, before you cause any more trouble." Naruto ducked his head and slipped past, but whispers followed him into the classroom. "That was weird. Did you see that flash? Probably another prank. He's always getting into things." Naruto hunched his shoulders, feeling the sting. But he grinned, if only for himself. No matter how strange things got, he'd make them notice him, one way or another. In class, his mind wandered. Iruka's voice faded as Naruto gazed at the sunlight on his desk, tracing it with his finger. What had happened to him? He wanted to try it again, to move as fast as light, to see if he could really do what he'd done earlier. His thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Sasuke. The room quieted instantly. Sasuke Uchiha, silent and cool, walked to his seat as if the world parted for him. Naruto felt the familiar burn of rivalry, now tinged with something new. He wanted to prove himself, not just to the others, but to Sasuke, too. Iruka's lesson ended, and the class streamed out for training. Naruto lingered, staring at his glowing palm. He squeezed his eyes shut, focused, and tried to will the light into something. Anything. Useful. Nothing. He sighed, frustrated, and trudged outside. The training field was crowded. The spring breeze carried the sounds of laughter, taunts, and scuffed sandals on grass. Iruka paired them off for sparring. Naruto barely heard his name called. He was lost in his own thoughts, the memory of that fruit still burning on his tongue. "Hey, dead last." Naruto looked up to see Kiba grinning, Akamaru barking on his head. "Spacing out already?" Naruto scowled. "Shut up, dog breath. I'll show you." But before he could finish, Sasuke stepped forward, kunai in hand. "Save your energy, Naruto. You'll need it." The other students gathered around. Even Sakura was watching, brow furrowed with concern. Iruka gave the signal. Naruto tensed, heart pounding. For a split second, he remembered that feeling. The world stretching out, every detail sharp. Sasuke moved first, a blur of motion. Naruto braced for the impact, but something inside him pulsed. He twisted, and for an instant, it was like the world shattered into shards of golden light. He moved, he didn't know how, dodging Sasuke's strike with impossible speed. The crowd gasped. What was that? Did he just disappear? Sasuke landed hard, eyes wide, face twisted in surprise and anger. Naruto was just as stunned. He stared at his hands, barely able to believe what had happened. Iruka's voice cut through the shock. "Enough. That's enough for today." The crowd drifted away, murmuring. Sasuke glared at Naruto, silent, a storm brewing behind his eyes. Naruto stood alone in the field, chest rising and falling, the taste of the strange fruit still on his tongue, and the memory of light burning in his mind. For the first time, Naruto wondered if he really was special, if he really did have a place in this world, no matter what anyone else thought. He looked up at the sun, and for the briefest moment, it seemed to answer him. For most of his life, Naruto Uzumaki had only dreamed of being noticed. Now, after that single, blinding move at the academy field, he was all anyone could talk about. It started as a whisper. How did he do that? I swear he vanished. Like, for real. Maybe it was just a trick? But by lunchtime, eyes followed him through the halls. Some curious, some afraid, some resentful. Even the teachers glanced his way more than usual, as if waiting for another outburst. Naruto tried to ignore them, but it was hard to focus on anything. At the corner of his vision, light always seemed to shimmer. Whenever he stretched his fingers, they tingled like pins and needles. He tapped the edge of his desk, fighting the urge to test it again. "Hey, Naruto." Iruka's hand settled gently on his shoulder, drawing him from his thoughts. "Walk with me?" Iruka asked, his smile gentle. Naruto nodded, grateful for the break. They strolled through the outer grounds of the academy, where the air smelled of fresh grass and distant ramen stalls. Iruka said nothing at first, letting Naruto speak when he was ready. Naruto hesitated, chewing his lip. "Sensei, am I weird?" Iruka stopped. "Why would you think that?" Naruto shoved his hands in his pockets. "The others, after what happened today, I didn't mean to do anything crazy, but..." He glanced away, afraid Iruka would look at him like the rest did, like a problem. Iruka just knelt so their eyes met. "Naruto, weird doesn't mean bad. You've always been different. That's not a weakness. Sometimes, it's what makes you strong." Naruto's throat tightened. "But what if I hurt someone?" He remembered the power, a force in his chest, waiting to explode, as bright and uncontrollable as the sun. Iruka's face softened. "You won't. I know you, Naruto. You have a good heart. That's what matters." Naruto wanted to believe him. He remembered a time, not so long ago, when he had stolen the scroll of seals, when he'd thought being noticed was all that mattered, until Iruka risked everything for him. Since then, Iruka's faith had become a lifeline. "But I don't even know what's happening to me," Naruto said, voice small. He told Iruka about the hidden chamber, the strange glowing fruit, the feeling of fire in his veins, the afterimages of gold whenever he moved too fast. Iruka listened quietly. When Naruto finished, Iruka was silent for a long moment. "Strange things happen in this world," Iruka finally said, voice steady. "Maybe this is your destiny. But Naruto, power alone doesn't define who you are. It's what you do with it. And I trust you." Naruto smiled. A real smile, small but growing. "Thanks, Iruka-sensei." Iruka tousled his hair. "Come on, I'll buy you some ramen." That evening, Naruto walked home under a sky streaked with pink and gold. For once, the stairs didn't sting quite so much. He still felt the energy pulsing within him, but the fear was less now. Someone believed in him. Someone saw not a monster or a freak, but a boy learning to become something more. As he turned a corner, he noticed a shadow watching from the rooftop across the street. For a heartbeat, Naruto's blood ran cold. The figure melted away into the dusk, but a chill lingered. He hurried home, checking over his shoulder. For the first time, Naruto realized that being special meant he'd never be truly alone. Someone, somewhere, was watching. He entered his apartment, closed the door, and let himself breathe. He didn't know what the future held. But tonight, as moonlight poured through his window and danced across his palm, Naruto felt a flicker of hope. His journey was only just beginning. The day of squad assignments dawned with a humid hush hanging over the hidden leaf. Naruto could barely sleep the night before. His skin seemed to hum beneath the covers, and even his dreams were shot through with streaks of golden light. By the time he burst through the academy doors, the halls buzzed with rumors and nerves. Students clustered in tight circles, sharing hopes and dreading the possibility of being teamed with rivals. Naruto's name was whispered a little more sharply now, sometimes with awe, sometimes with distrust. He tried not to let it show. Instead, he grinned big and loud, tossing jokes at Kiba and Shikamaru as he made his way to the bulletin board. Sakura was already there, smoothing her hair anxiously, while Ino hovered nearby. "Move, Naruto!" Sakura snapped, elbowing him aside in her rush to read the teams. Naruto stumbled, nearly tripping over his own feet, but before he could retort, his eyes landed on the list. Squad 7, Kakashi Hitaki, Jonin leader, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Naruto Uzumaki. His heart leapt, then fluttered uncomfortably. Sasuke was here. Sasuke, the prodigy, the rival, the shadow always at his back. Sakura, too, was staring at the names, her cheeks tinged with hope and nerves. Naruto tried not to notice the way she glanced at Sasuke, or the way Sasuke's cool indifference seemed to swallow the room. Sasuke just nodded, accepting the pairing with the calm arrogance of someone used to winning. Naruto huffed. "Guess you get to learn from the best. Huh, Sasuke?" Sasuke arched an eyebrow. "Try to keep up, loser." Naruto grinned, not missing a beat. "You're just scared I'll outrun you." Before Sakura could scold them, Iruka's voice called the teams together. Squad 7, Classroom 3. Wait for your sensei. The three waited in awkward silence. Naruto fidgeted at his desk, bouncing his leg, glancing from Sakura's hopeful smile to Sasuke's pointed silence. The minutes dragged. Why is our sensei so late? Sakura muttered, tapping her pencil. Naruto leaned forward, a mischievous spark in his eyes. Maybe he's playing ninja somewhere. Sasuke ignored them both, eyes closed, arms folded, meditating or pretending to. Just as Naruto was about to stick an eraser up his nose for laughs, the classroom door slid open, quiet, almost ghost-like. A silver-haired man in a flak vest stood in the doorway, reading an orange book, eye drooping with boredom. "You all seem lively," he drawled, barely glancing up. Naruto perked up immediately. "You're our sensei? You look kinda, tired." The man snapped his book shut, finally meeting Naruto's gaze. For the briefest moment, his single exposed eye sharpened, lingering on Naruto, on the faint shimmer of gold at his collarbone, barely visible unless you knew to look. "I'm Kakashi Hitaki," he said. "Let's take this outside." They found a quiet spot on the roof, away from the morning noise. Kakashi leaned back against the railing, hands stuffed in his pockets. "Let's start with introductions," Kakashi said, his tone even but watchful. "Tell me your likes, dislikes, dreams for the future." Sakura went first, voice trembling with excitement as she described her love for learning and, more pointedly, her admiration for Sasuke. Sasuke spoke only a few words, but they were heavy with purpose. "I don't have much I like. I dislike many things. My dream is to restore my clan, and to kill a certain someone." Kakashi's visible eyebrow rose slightly, but he only nodded. When it was Naruto's turn, he felt everyone's eyes on him, not just his teammates, but Kakashi's gaze, cool and probing. "I like ramen. And Irika-sensei, I don't like people who judge without knowing the whole story." He paused, glancing at Sasuke and Sakura, then at the distant faces carved into the mountain. "My dream is to become Hokage, to be the best ninja in the village, and to make everyone finally notice me for who I am." Kakashi said nothing for a long moment. Then, with a smile hidden by his mask, he said, "Interesting group. Tomorrow, we'll have a survival exercise. Don't eat breakfast, you might throw up." He turned to go, but paused at the door, glancing back over his shoulder. "And Naruto," he said, voice lowering just enough for only Naruto to hear. "Be careful with your light. Some things are better hidden, at least until you can control them." Naruto froze, heart racing. Kakashi's eye crinkled in something like amusement. Then he was gone, leaving the trio in stunned silence. As the sun set over the village, Naruto wandered home, Kakashi's words echoing in his mind. His power wasn't a secret anymore, but whether it would make him a hero or a target was something only time could answer. He looked back at the monument, the stone faces watching, silent and eternal. Someday, he promised himself, he'd carve his own place there, not just as the boy with the strange powers, but as a true ninja of the hidden leaf. The next morning, Naruto awoke before sunrise. He hadn't slept much. His nerves were tangled with excitement and worry, and the faint golden glow in his skin pulsed restlessly beneath his clothes. He remembered Kakashi's words, "Don't eat breakfast, you might throw up." Naruto's stomach grumbled in protest, but he obeyed, hoping that the first real test as a ninja would finally let him prove himself. Team 7 gathered at Training Ground 3. The field was draped in pale mist, the grass slick with dew. Sasuke arrived first, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Sakura arrived next, tying her forehead protector tight, determined not to be left behind. Naruto was last. Despite waking early, he'd spent extra time adjusting his orange jacket, unsure if it hid the shimmer beneath his skin. They waited and waited. The air grew heavy with impatience. Sakura was the first to speak. "He said 6 a.m., right?" Sasuke scowled. "He's late on purpose." Naruto paced in tight circles, energy buzzing in his muscles. He stared at his teammates, one confident, the other anxious. He wondered what Kakashi expected of them. At last, Kakashi appeared, strolling through the trees as if he had all the time in the world. A battered alarm clock dangled from one finger, his ever-present orange book tucked under his arm. "Good morning, everyone," he said cheerfully, as if arriving 2 hours late was perfectly normal. "You're late." Naruto and Sakura shouted in unison, their voices echoing through the trees. Kakashi waved their complaints away. A ninja must look beyond appearances. "Now, let's get started." He produced 2 small bells, silver and gleaming, and fastened them to his belt. Your task is simple, Kakashi said. Take a bell from me before noon. There are only two, so one of you will go without lunch and be sent back to the academy. Use whatever means you wish. Sakura gulped. But there's three of us. Kakashi's single eye crinkled. That's the point. Come at me with the intent to kill, or you won't stand a chance. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Naruto grinned, determined not to be underestimated. Kakashi took a lazy stance, but beneath the surface, his gaze flickered with focus, especially when it lingered on Naruto, as if weighing an invisible risk. Ready? Begin. In a flash, the three scattered. Naruto launched himself into the brush, the world smearing with speed. For a moment, everything became streaks of green and gold. He stopped, gasping, heart thundering in his chest. He hadn't meant to move so fast. He just thought about hiding, and his body obeyed. From his vantage, he watched as Sasuke slipped into the shadows, moving with quiet purpose. Sakura found her own spot behind a tree, her breath shaky but determined. Kakashi didn't move. He simply waited, radiating calm. Naruto clenched his fists, debating. Should he rush in, trusting his new power? Or would that only make him a bigger target? He remembered Iruka's words. You have a good heart. That's what matters. Naruto gritted his teeth. He'd show them all. He exploded from cover, a golden blur. The world bent around him as he streaked toward Kakashi, hand outstretched for the bells. For a heartbeat, he saw Kakashi's eye widen in surprise. Then Kakashi twisted, impossibly fast, and Naruto crashed into empty air, tumbling head over heels. He landed hard, dirt spraying. You're fast, Naruto, Kakashi said, his voice from everywhere at once. But speed isn't everything. Naruto rolled to his feet. He felt heat crackle along his arms, the urge to unleash the light burning inside him. But he hesitated. If he let loose, would he hurt someone? Was that what being a ninja meant? Kakashi appeared behind him, calm and unreadable. Don't rely only on power you don't understand. Naruto spun, fists raised, but Kakashi vanished again, reappearing near Sakura. Sakura's heart raced as she watched Naruto's failed charge. She realized, maybe for the first time, how alien and dangerous Naruto's new ability was, and how it set him apart from everyone else. But it didn't scare her. It made her want to catch up. Sasuke emerged from the shadows, launching a flurry of shuriken. Kakashi dodged, barely breaking a sweat. You all lack teamwork, Kakashi announced. Coming at me alone will get you nowhere. Naruto wiped sweat from his brow, frustration mounting. He caught Sakura's eye across the clearing. For once, they understood each other without words. Together, they charged. Naruto darted left, light pulsing at his fingertips, distracting Kakashi. Sakura circled right, tossing a smoke bomb. Sasuke used the confusion to attack from behind, his eyes locked on the bells. Kakashi parried each move, but this time he was less casual, forced to adapt to Naruto's bursts of speed and Sasuke's precision. Naruto felt the energy inside him surge. For a moment, he almost let go, almost unleashed the blinding flash building behind his eyes. But he remembered Iruka's faith and Kakashi's warning. He held back. The battle raged until noon, with Kakashi effortlessly evading or countering every trick. In the final moments, the three collapsed in exhaustion, mud-stained and out of breath. Kakashi returned, the bells still dangling from his belt. Well, he said, you failed. Sakura's face fell. Naruto's fists clenched in shame. Sasuke just glared, defiant. Kakashi sat on the grass, eye softening. You focused too much on individual power. A true ninja puts the mission and teammates above themselves. You only tried to work together at the very end. He set out 3 bento lunches. Eat. You'll need your strength. Naruto stared, confused. But, you said. Kakashi shrugged. Those who break the rules are scum. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Sakura and Sasuke glanced at Naruto, then at each other. For the first time, something like camaraderie sparked between them. Kakashi stood, satisfied. You pass. Team 7 starts tomorrow. Naruto felt a rush of relief and pride, brighter than any light inside him. As Kakashi walked away, he paused once more. Naruto, remember, true strength comes from knowing your limits. Don't let your power blind you. Naruto looked down at his hands, still tingling with hidden energy, and nodded. Today, they were a team. Tomorrow, the real journey would begin. The next day dawned with a crisp, nervous chill in the air. Perfect weather, Naruto thought, for proving himself. He arrived at the village gates before sunrise, orange jacket zipped tight, his headband polished to a shine. His skin felt less like it was buzzing and more like it was humming, as if the light within was learning to rest. Sasuke was already there, arms folded, leaning against the wall with practiced indifference. Sakura showed up a minute later, her bag packed with careful precision, a determined look on her face. Kakashi, of course, arrived last, lazily waving an apology and somehow already immersed in his orange book. "Today, you three get your first C-rank mission," Kakashi announced, closing his book with a soft snap. "We're escorting a bridge builder to the land of waves." Naruto pumped his fist. "About time. I was starting to think we'd be stuck catching cats forever." Tazuna, their client, stepped out from behind the gate, a gruff, older man with stubble and a skeptical frown. "So, these are my bodyguards? They look like they barely know which end of a kunai is sharp." Sasuke bristled but said nothing. Naruto pouted. Sakura offered a polite, slightly forced bow. Kakashi only smiled. "Appearances are deceiving. My team has promise." With that, they set off, winding through Konoha's streets and out into the wilds beyond the village walls. It was the first time Naruto had traveled so far from home, and the world beyond Konoha's familiar rooftops felt impossibly big. Endless trees, wide skies, the songs of distant birds. Naruto walked at the front, eager and hungry for adventure. The first hours passed in awkward silence, broken only by Tazuna's muttering and Naruto's periodic attempts to spark conversation. Sakura kept glancing at Naruto, a question always on her lips, but never quite spoken. Was he glowing? Sometimes, when the sunlight hit him, he seemed just a little brighter than the world around him. Or maybe she was imagining things. Sasuke, too, stole sidelong glances, not of fear, but of calculation, as if measuring Naruto against some invisible scale. Kakashi noticed it all, watching over his team with an easy patience, yet his gaze always lingered a second longer on Naruto, as if searching for answers. They crossed a narrow bridge over a rushing river, trees arching overhead. Tazuna wiped sweat from his brow, muttering about bandits and worthless shinobi budgets. Suddenly, the world went quiet. The birdsong cut off. Naruto felt it first, a chill skittering down his spine, the light inside him tensing. He slowed, scanning the road ahead. Something wasn't right. That's when he saw it. A puddle by the roadside, too still, too perfect, shimmering unnaturally in the dappled light. He glanced at Kakashi, who nodded just barely. Without warning, the puddle erupted. Two masked figures burst forth, chains whipping. The Demon Brothers, missing mean from the mist. Before anyone could react, the chains wrapped around Kakashi, who seemed to vanish beneath the crushing assault. Sakura screamed. Tazuna froze in terror, but Naruto felt his body move before his mind could catch up. A pulse of gold, a rush of energy. In a flash, he darted between the attackers and Tazuna, arms wide, light gathering at his fingertips. The Demon Brothers lunged. Naruto didn't think. He moved, and for a heartbeat, he was everywhere at once, dodging one, tripping the other, his body moving with dazzling, unnatural speed. He landed behind them, panting, knees trembling. The Demon Brothers spun, eyes wide. Sasuke sprang forward, kunai flashing, his movements sharp and practiced. Between Naruto's burst of speed and Sasuke's precision, they disarmed and immobilized both enemies. A soft poof of smoke signaled Kakashi's reappearance. He landed nearby, perfectly unharmed. "Not bad, you two, but don't let your guard down yet." Sakura, wide-eyed, helped Tazuna to his feet. "Naruto, what was that?" Naruto, chest heaving, looked down at his hands. The afterglow of power faded, replaced by a gnawing uncertainty. Kakashi's eye narrowed. He'd seen it clearly now. Naruto's movements, his impossible speed, the shimmer of gold trailing behind. But there was no time to dwell. Kakashi surveyed the battered Demon Brothers, then the shadows between the trees. "These weren't ordinary bandits," Kakashi murmured. "Someone doesn't want Azuna to reach the bridge." The group pressed on, every sense sharpened now by the taste of real danger. As they entered the mist-laden woods, the light beneath Naruto's skin flickered restlessly. He felt both powerful and exposed, a beacon that could not be hidden. He realized, with a sinking certainty, that this was only the beginning. Somewhere ahead, in the deepening shadows, a new kind of threat waited, one that would test Team 7's strength, trust, and Naruto's strange new destiny. Mist crawled over the narrow path, swallowing the trees in a silvery shroud. Team 7 pressed onward, nerves ragged after the demon brothers' ambush. Tazuna stuck close to Sakura, eyes flicking to every shadow. Sasuke kept a hand on his kunai pouch. Kakashi moved at the rear, his gaze sweeping the fog. Naruto's thoughts buzzed. His hands tingled with leftover energy. He replayed the fight in his mind. His speed, the burst of light, the way everyone stared at him afterward. A thrill of pride tangled with a knot of worry. Had he done the right thing? Was he getting too reckless? The silence snapped like a twig. A blade flashed through the mist, spinning end over end. A massive, cleaver-shaped sword that buried itself in a tree ahead, sending wood chips spraying. Everyone froze. A figure materialized from the haze, tall and broad-shouldered, bandaged mouth twisted in a grin. The mist hunter-neem vest, the silent, predatory gaze. Naruto recognized him instantly from the bingo book Irika kept locked away. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. Kakashi's single eye narrowed. Everyone, protect Tazuna. Stay behind me. Naruto swallowed, hands trembling. This was different from any fight before. He could feel the killing intent radiating from Zabuza like ice. You must be the famous Kakashi of the Sharingan, Zabuza said, voice low and amused. I was hoping for a real challenge. He flicked his hand, and mist thickened, choking out the sun. Naruto could barely see his own hands. Kakashi slid his headband up, revealing his own Sharingan. Don't underestimate my team. Zabuza laughed, a cold, hollow sound. Team? They look like children. Sasuke bristled. Naruto set his jaw, anger burning away his fear. Kakashi turned to them, voice hard but steady. Watch my back. Protect Tazuna. Don't try to fight Zabuza alone. The battle began in a blur. Zabuza charged, blade swinging, mist swirling to hide his movements. Kakashi countered, matching every blow, their jutsu crackling through the fog. Water clones, silent and swift, darted from every shadow. Naruto felt the urge to move, to leap into the fray with his new power. But Kakashi's warning echoed in his ears. Don't rely only on power you don't understand. Sasuke and Sakura flanked Tazuna, scanning the mist for threats. A water clone rushed at them. Sasuke moved like a blur, intercepting it with precise, desperate force. Sakura shouted, slashing with her kunai. Naruto's skin flickered gold, adrenaline screaming through his veins. The world seemed to slow as another clone lunged for Tazuna. He reacted without thinking. Light burst in his limbs, and he darted forward, almost vanishing, landing in front of Tazuna with a radiant flash. The water clone swung its blade. Naruto raised his arms, and suddenly, the world erupted in blinding light. The clone evaporated, bursting into water as the light seared through it. Sasuke blinked, stunned. Sakura stared mouth agape. Zabuza paused mid-attack, eyes flicking to the source of the glow. Well, the rumors are true, he said, eyeing Naruto with new interest. A shinobi who moves like light. Kakashi's expression tightened. Naruto, stay with Tazuna. Naruto hesitated, sweat beading on his brow. That power, it felt different here, under pressure. Harder to control. But for a moment, everyone was safe. Zabuza smirked. Looks like I'll need to take you seriously. He vanished, reappearing behind Naruto in an instant. Naruto barely managed to dodge, the air singing with the speed of Zabuza's swing. But he wasn't fast enough. A thin line of blood bloomed across his shoulder. Pain lanced through him. For the first time, Naruto realized how thin the line was between courage and recklessness. Sasuke jumped to his side, covering Naruto with his own body. Focus, idiot. You're not invincible. Naruto gritted his teeth. I know. I just can't let him win. Kakashi, fighting for his life against Zabuza's true self, caught the exchange out of the corner of his eye. This team, he thought, had more potential and more danger than any he'd ever led. The battle raged on, water and mist and light colliding in flashes. For the first time, Naruto truly understood. This was real. This was deadly. But he wasn't alone. He stood, bracing himself, light pooling in his palms, ready for whatever came next, because Team 7 was counting on him. And together, even against a demon, they might just survive. Mist clung to the world like a second skin. Blood and water slicked the ground. Naruto pressed his hand to his shoulder, warm liquid seeping between his fingers, the memory of Zabuza's blade burning in his nerves. Somewhere in the swirling fog, Kakashi and Zabuza's clash raged on, a symphony of steel, jutsu, and raw killing intent. Team 7 circled Tazuna, every muscle taut, senses stretched to the breaking point. Sasuke's voice cut through the panic. "Naruto, you good?" Naruto nodded, swallowing the pain. "Yeah, just a scratch." Sakura's face was pale but determined. "He'll be back. We have to be ready." But before she could finish, a new presence slid through the mist. Gentle footsteps, soft as falling snow. A masked boy stepped into view, long dark hair and eyes cold with purpose. Haku, Zabuza's accomplice, and for all the beauty in his presence, every ounce as deadly as the demon of the mist. Kakashi saw him and tensed. "So, you brought your tool," he muttered to Zabuza. Haku bowed slightly. "I settling on Naruto for a beat longer than anyone else. You have interesting abilities, but you are in our way." With swift, precise movements, Haku formed hand seals. In an instant, icy mirrors erupted from the ground, encircling Naruto and Sasuke, trapping them in a ring of ghostly reflections. Each mirror shimmered with Haku's image, 1,000 glints of steel and sorrow. Sasuke braced himself, kunai drawn. "Can you break us out of here?" Naruto studied the mirrors. His reflection blinked back, each one shimmering faintly, as if recognizing the light within him. "We can try," Naruto said, trying to keep the fear from his voice. Haku's voice floated, serene but mournful. "I don't wish to kill you. Please, don't resist." But the attack came all the same. Needles flickered, faster than sight. Sasuke shielded Naruto, wincing as a sunbond grazed his arm. Naruto's heart thundered. Rage, fear, and desperation mingled with the strange energy that pulsed inside him. The light wanted out. He squeezed his fists, willing it to obey. "Not this time," he whispered. He focused, closing his eyes, remembering Irika's faith, Kakashi's warning, the promise he'd made to himself on the monument. "I won't let my friends die. Not ever." A sudden flash, a blinding eruption of gold, burst from Naruto's body. The ice mirrors fractured under the force, cracks splintering through the prison. Haku's eyes widened behind the mask, but power without control is a double-edged sword. The flash didn't stop with the mirrors. It exploded outward, a shockwave of light tearing through mist and ice alike. Sasuke shielded his eyes. Outside the circle, Sakura gasped as the forest flickered with golden brilliance. For a heartbeat, the world went silent. Then, from the ruined circle, Haku appeared, face exposed, mask half shattered, blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were full of pain, but also admiration. You truly shine," Haku whispered. "But light can wound, just as darkness can shelter." Kakashi, Zabuza, and even Sakura froze at the sight of the devastation. Zabuza's jaw clenched. Kakashi's Sharingan flickered, trying to take in the impossible scene. Haku raised trembling hands, water and blood mixing on his skin. "If you keep using that power, it will destroy you. It might destroy everyone." Naruto fell to his knees, breath ragged, chest aching as if he'd burned up from the inside. Sasuke dragged him upright, anger in his eyes, not at Naruto, but at the cruelty of this world. "You did it, idiot," Sasuke muttered. "But you can't save everyone by yourself." Haku smiled, small, sad. "Sometimes, we have to choose who to save." As Zabuza and Kakashi clashed anew, Haku turned back to his master, resolve written on every wounded line of his face. Sasuke steadied Naruto, and for the first time, the two rivals stood side by side, battered, frightened, but alive. The mist began to break. The first rays of dawn pierced the clouds, painting the battered bridge in golden light. Naruto stared at his hands, at the power, the danger, and the hope. He knew now, he wasn't just fighting to be noticed. He was fighting to protect, even when it hurt, even when it nearly broke him. He looked at his friends and found a hero's resolve. Whatever came next, he wouldn't run from it. The sun finally broke the last of the mist, golden beams splintering across the broken bridge. Blood and water gleamed on shattered stone. Naruto, still shaking, sat on his heels in the wet chill, hands pressed together as if praying. Sasuke slumped next to him, battered and pale, but breathing, a miracle in itself. Sakura, her face streaked with tears, hovered protectively over them both. Kakashi stood over Zabuza and Haku, both fallen. The legendary demon of the mist knelt at his apprentice's side, broken blade forgotten. For the first time, his voice trembled. "Haku, what?" Zabuza whispered, blood painting his lips. Haku managed a faint smile, his eyes drifting to Naruto, Then to Zabuza. You taught me how to be strong. I wanted to be your weapon, but I wanted to protect someone too. Even someone who shines so brightly. It hurts. Naruto pressed his forehead to the ground. He couldn't look at Haku's wounds. The memory of his own uncontrolled light tearing through the mirrors and into Haku's body would haunt him for a lifetime. He tried to apologize, words catching in his throat. Kakashi stepped forward, laying a gentle hand on Naruto's shoulder. You did what you had to. Sometimes, there's no clean ending in this life. Sakura sniffled, tears dripping onto her fists. Sasuke glared at the broken stones, fists clenched. We're not killers. Not like them, but even he knew the truth. Survival, here, meant sometimes you lost more than you won. Tazuna wept quietly. His bridge was splattered with blood and sacrifice. This wasn't what I wanted, but you saved us. Zabuza's final moments were strangely peaceful. He looked down at Haku, something like gratitude shining in his brutal features. You were always more than a tool. Forgive me for seeing it too late. Naruto lifted his head, eyes burning. You two were, together, in the dark. You had each other. That's all anyone really wants, right? Zabuza nodded, silent tears mingling with blood. In the end, he let go of his sword and let himself collapse beside Haku. The villagers came when it was over. At first, they were frightened of the carnage, of the boys and girl with battered faces and two bright eyes, of the strange marks Naruto's battle had left on the stone. But when Tazuna told them of the team's bravery, their gratitude was raw and awkward. Sakura patched up Naruto's shoulder, her hands trembling only a little. Sasuke sat nearby, watching Naruto, silent and thoughtful. Kakashi gazed at the broken bridge, his mind a million miles away. Naruto stared at his hands. I almost killed someone again, even when I just wanted to protect. Kakashi's voice was quiet. That's the truth of our path. Power can save, but it can also hurt. You have to decide what you're willing to carry, Naruto. The villagers buried Haku and Zabuza at the water's edge, side by side. Team 7 stood by, heads bowed. The mist finally lifting to reveal a sky as wide and blue as hope. That night, Naruto couldn't sleep. The room Tazuna lent them was small but warm. He stared at the ceiling, listening to the quiet breaths of his friends. For the first time, the voices of the village were different. He heard awe in the way they spoke of the boy who moved like lightning. He heard respect in their thanks. But the pain of what he'd done, the line between hero and destroyer, lingered deep inside him. He rolled over, clutching his pillow tight. Tomorrow, I'll be better, he whispered. He didn't know if it was a promise or a prayer. But as the dawn crept in, Naruto's resolve burned brighter than the scars he carried. He was a shinobi. He would find a way to use his light to protect, not just to destroy. And somewhere far away, in the shadows, a pair of snake-like eyes watched the sunrise over the hidden leaf, already whispering rumors of the boy who could outshine the sun. The journey back to Konoha felt different from the one out. The road was familiar now, but everything else had changed. Sakura chatted softly with Tazuna as they crossed the rebuilt bridge, her face less anxious than before. Sasuke walked a little ahead, hands in his pockets, head bowed in thought. Kakashi brought up the rear, reading his book, but always glancing at his team. Naruto lagged behind, silent, his mind replaying the moments on the bridge. Haku's soft eyes, the crackling of light, Zabuza's fall. The ache in his shoulder was almost comforting compared to the ache in his heart. Still, there was a weight off his chest. He'd survived. They all had. The villagers in Wave called him hero now. He'd even seen a few children practicing Naruto's lightspeed jutsu, with sticks and wild laughter. It stung and healed him in equal measure. When Konoha's gates came into view, Naruto's chest tightened with anticipation. Would things be different here? Would they whisper about him, too? At the gate, Iruka was waiting. He greeted them with a tired but genuine smile, relief shining in his eyes as he ruffled Naruto's hair and hugged Sakura. You all made it back. I'm proud of you. Even Sasuke looked less cold, for a heartbeat. But as they passed through the village streets, Naruto felt the stares. Some curious, some nervous, some almost reverent. A pair of jonin whispered, "That's him, right? The kid from the wave, the one with the light." Children pointed and gawked. "Do it again, Naruto. Show us how you sparkle." Naruto forced a grin and hurried on. That evening, the team gathered in the Hokage's office for their debriefing. Tsunade wasn't Hokage yet, so the old third, Sarutobi, presided, wise eyes shrewd behind his pipe. He listened to Kakashi's report, nodding gravely. When it was over, he leaned forward. Your actions brought great honor to the village. You protected our client, defeated two of the Mist's most dangerous missing nin, and introduced the world to a new kind of power. His gaze lingered on Naruto, heavy with both pride and worry. Naruto shifted uncomfortably. I just did what I had to. I don't want to hurt anyone. Sarutobi's smile was kind. That's the right fear to have, Naruto. Power means little without heart. As the team left the tower, Sasuke pulled Naruto aside. For once, his expression was serious, not mocking. That thing you did out there, you could have killed Haku. You almost did. But you saved us, too. He hesitated. I'm going to surpass you, Naruto. No matter what. Naruto met Sasuke's eyes, seeing both challenge and respect. Then you'd better hurry up, team. I'm not slowing down for you. Sakura rolled her eyes but smiled. For the first time, they walked away together. Rivals, yes, but something like friends, too. Far away, in the roots and shadows of the village, two pairs of eyes watched Naruto go. One belonged to a man with skin like a snake and a hunger for forbidden power. The other to a masked figure, already writing Naruto's name in a book of people to watch. And somewhere across the seas, in a mist-shrouded harbor, word of a boy who could outrun light was whispered by sailors and shinobi alike. The world was changing, and Naruto Uzumaki was at the center of it. The news spread through Konoha like wildfire. Chunin exams. Open invitation to all Chunin teams. It meant a shot at respect, at advancement, and for many, a chance to prove themselves to the world. Naruto's heart leapt when he read the notice, pinned up on the academy wall. He turned to Sakura, eyes shining. We're going to be Chunin, Sakura-chan. I can feel it. Sakura grinned, unable to hide her excitement. Sasuke just smirked, hands in his pockets. Try not to slow us down. But beneath the bravado, even Sasuke's eyes gleamed with anticipation. This was the next step. And, for all of them, the first step into something much bigger. Preparation was everything. Konoha bustled with foreign teams, hidden sand, mist, grass, sound, each eyeing the others warily. Rumors clung to the streets like mist. Did you hear about the kid from Wave? They say he moves like lightning. No, like pure light. Some looked at Naruto in awe. Others eyed him with envy or fear. At the training field, the team sparred under Kakashi's watchful eye. Sasuke had grown sharper, matching Naruto's speed with uncanny instinct, his Sharingan flickering more often. Sakura trained harder than ever, her confidence building with every success. But one afternoon, as they took a rare break under the shade of a tree, a new team appeared. 3 Chunin in mist headbands, eyes cold and assessing. One, tall and wiry, grinned. So this is the so-called light ninja, he said, nodding at Naruto. I heard you took down Zabuza. Not bad. Naruto straightened, mouth opening for a snappy comeback. But something about the stranger's gaze gave him pause. The mist ninja's fingers trailed a thin thread of smoke through the air, shaping it into a claw, then letting it drift away. Naruto blinked, uncertain if he was seeing things. Sasuke noticed too, tension stiffening his posture. Sakura's hand crept to her kunai pouch. Who are you? Naruto demanded, stepping forward. The mist ninja just smiled. Names don't matter, powers do. You're not the only one with secrets, Uzumaki. Some of us have eaten from the same tree. Before Naruto could press, the trio melted away into the crowd, leaving a trail of curling smoke. That evening, as twilight painted the village gold, Naruto sat on the rooftop of his apartment. The lights of Konoha twinkled below, but his thoughts were far away. The fruit he'd eaten, was it just the beginning? What if more powers like his appeared? What if next time, it wasn't a tool for saving people, but for destruction? He stared at his hand as it glimmered faintly in the dusk, uncertainty tugging at him. The world felt bigger and scarier than ever before. But he clenched his fist, resolve rising. I'll show everyone I can use this power right. I'll protect them, no matter what. Far below, a group of masked ninja, watchers from the Hokage's intelligence corps, passed through the shadows. And, on a distant roof, Kakashi watched over his team, a quiet worry hidden in the curve of his eye. The devil fruits had returned to the shinobi world, and soon, everyone would feel the ripples. The inside of the academy was a pressure cooker, every hallway brimming with nervous laughter, sidelong glances, and the electric hum of 100 ambitions colliding. Naruto had never seen so many different forehead protectors in one place. Sand, mist, grass, sound, and more, every village's best Chunin gathered for the challenge. He tried to keep his head up, even as he caught the mutters in the crowd. That's him, the light ninja. I heard he destroyed an entire squad single-handed, but he doesn't even know how he did it. Naruto forced a confident grin and struck his best pose. Sakura rolled her eyes, but her encouragement was genuine as she whispered, "We can do this, Naruto. Just remember what Kakashi said." Sasuke's eyes swept the room, as sharp as ever. "Stay sharp. Everyone's watching us, and not all of them are friendly." The first test was the written exam, and Naruto groaned as he stared at the impossibly difficult questions. Ugh, I didn't sign up for math. But this time, he wasn't alone. Sakura leaned in, whispering encouragement and clever hints. Sasuke was calm and methodical, the faintest hint of a smirk on his face as he caught Naruto's eye. Still, even as he tried to focus, Naruto's mind kept drifting to the mist ninja from before, the one who shaped smoke with a flick of his fingers. When the proctor announced the final challenge, answer or fail, knowing a single wrong move could doom the whole team, Naruto stood tall and shouted, "I'm not quitting. I'll become Hokage someday, and I never give up." The room buzzed with his energy. Even the proctors seemed taken aback. In that moment, Team 7 passed, along with a dozen others. The first hurdle was done, but the real test was about to begin. The Forest of Death was a world away from the academy, a tangle of darkness and danger, where rules bent and survival came first. Naruto's heart raced as Anko, the wild-eyed proctor, handed out the scrolls. "Remember," she grinned, "death is always an option." Naruto glanced at his teammates. Sakura's eyes were determined. Sasuke's mouth was set in a thin, hard line. As they entered the gates, the forest swallowed them in green shadows and whispers. It wasn't long before they ran into trouble. The mist team reappeared, blocking their path. The leader, smoke still curling from his fingers, smiled with cold confidence. "Looks like fate wants us to settle this now, light ninja." Naruto braced himself, power tingling under his skin. Sasuke and Sakura took defensive stances at his side. "Don't hold back," Sasuke warned. "He's got something weird, like you." The mist ninja's smile grew sharper. With a gesture, he unleashed a billow of smoke, twisting it into a wall, then claws, then a suffocating shroud that reached for Team 7. Naruto darted forward, a blur of gold slicing through the gray. The two met head-on, light against smoke, energy against trickery. For the first time, Naruto felt what it was to fight someone else whose power came from something deeper and stranger than chakra. He struggled to focus, his light flickering against the oppressive darkness of the smoke. Every move was matched, every burst of energy met by the mist ninja's shapeless defenses. But Naruto's resolve didn't falter. He remembered Haku's words and Iruka's faith. He wouldn't let this power define him. He'd define it. With a shout, Naruto focused his energy, sending a blinding pulse through the smoke. The mist ninja staggered, but smiled. "Not bad, but this is just the beginning. There are more like us, Uzumaki." As the mist team retreated, Team 7 regrouped, battered but triumphant. Sakura patched Naruto's arm. Sasuke shot him a sideways look, a mix of admiration and competitive fire. "Looks like you're not the only one with a secret," Sasuke muttered. Naruto just grinned, fire in his eyes. "Doesn't matter. We're still Team 7. And we're not done yet." In the heart of the forest, with danger closing in and new powers awakening all around, Naruto's journey, and the world's, was only just beginning. Night crept over the Forest of Death, turning twisted branches into grasping hands. Insects hummed unseen. Team 7 moved quietly through the gloom. Naruto's glow dialed down as much as he could manage. The last encounter with the Mist team had left him exhausted and wary. His powers felt strange, almost as if they were reacting to the very dangers lurking in the trees. Sakura clutched their scroll to her chest, keeping pace. "How much farther, Sasuke?" "Quiet," Sasuke murmured, his Sharingan flickering red as he scanned the darkness. "Something's coming." Naruto felt it too, a cold shiver along his spine, a wrongness in the air. A sudden hush fell. Not even the wind moved. From the shadows, 3 figures stepped into view, sand drifting from their cloaks like living mist. Gaara led them, his eyes as emotionless as stone. But it was his teammate, a tall kunoichi with wild hair and a sly smile, who drew Naruto's attention. She held a gourd, not of sand, but a strange, swirling white substance. As she tipped it, tiny grains shimmered, then expanded, swirling into her hand. Sasuke stiffened. "Who are you?" The kunoichi bowed with mocking grace. "Hidden Sand, Team Baki. I'm Suna, and I'd like to see how the light ninja handles something new. She let the sand pour through her fingers, except, as it fell, it didn't act like sand. The ground where it landed shriveled, as if drained of moisture. Even Gaara watched with faint interest. Naruto stepped forward, hand glowing with the faintest trace of gold. "You've got something weird, too," she grinned. "I suppose you could say I ate something special. Let's see if your light burns brighter than my sand." Without warning, she unleashed a torrent, a river of sand that twisted and danced, turning to powder midair, swirling into claws that reached for Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke leapt aside, slicing at the sand with a kunai. Sakura hurled shuriken, but they vanished into the cloud. Naruto tried to dodge, but the sand was everywhere, slithering around his ankles, trying to pull him down. He concentrated, remembering his earlier battle with the Mist Ninja. This time, he tried something new, not just a flash, but a controlled pulse, flooding his legs with light and breaking the sand's grip. He leapt high, scattering golden sparks. Soon his eyes widened. "So, you can control it now?" "Not bad, Konoha," but her sand shifted, hardening into jagged spikes. Sasuke threw a handful of explosive tags, blasting a gap in the cloud. Sakura darted forward, dragging Naruto out of the way. Gaara watched it all in silence, his own gourd quivering, but he didn't interfere. Suna smirked, bowing theatrically. "Another time, light ninja. The forest has more dangers than just us." With a swirl of sand, the sand team vanished into the night. Team 7 collapsed against a tree, breathless. Naruto's heart pounded, not just from the fight, but from the realization that the world was changing faster than anyone had guessed. "Another devil fruit," Sakura said softly, voice trembling. "How many are out there?" Naruto stared at his hands. "Enough to make things interesting." Sasuke's eyes glittered, both competitive and uneasy. "We can't let our guard down. Not now." Above them, the moon shone down through broken clouds. Naruto felt its light mixing with his own, reminding him that in this new world, strength would mean nothing without heart and friends to stand beside him. Somewhere deeper in the forest, another scream rang out. The Forest of Death was just getting started. Dawn never quite reached the Forest of Death. Instead, a gray, sour light trickled through the thick leaves. Team 7 crept forward, silent but tense. They'd barely slept. Every snap of a twig could have been another devil fruit user, another trap, another brush with death. Naruto's light was dim, his nerves raw. The last fight had shown him how little control he truly had, and how much was still unknown in this world of new powers and shifting loyalties. Sasuke moved in the lead, his Sharingan alert for threats. Sakura watched their backs, scroll clutched tight to her chest. Naruto stuck close to them, trying to sense what lay ahead. The forest felt different now, wrong, somehow, like the trees themselves were holding their breath. A sudden wave of killing intent swept over them, freezing Team 7 in place. Out of the shadows, a figure emerged, a man tall and pale, his face stretched in a mocking grin. His golden eyes gleamed, and his tongue flicked out, tasting the fear in the air. "Orochimaru." Sasuke's eyes widened. "That's no ordinary genin." Naruto felt a shiver of recognition, though he didn't know why. Something about this man screamed danger in a way no one ever had. Orochimaru's gaze lingered on each of them, but when it landed on Naruto, it paused, curious, hungry. "So you're the child of light I've heard about. Fascinating. The world truly is changing." He raised a pale hand, and from his sleeve something shimmered, a slick, purple-black fruit covered in writhing veins. "You're not the only one blessed with a new gift, Naruto-kun." Before anyone could move, Orochimaru took a bite. Instantly, his body seemed to ripple and thicken, the air around him becoming toxic, almost impossible to breathe. "Venom." Sakura coughed, doubling over. Sasuke staggered, eyes watering. Naruto summoned his energy, the golden light pushing the toxins away for a moment, but he was already dizzy. Orochimaru struck without warning, faster than anything Naruto had ever seen, like a snake, like living poison. His hand flashed out, snaking toward Sasuke, who barely dodged. A stinging, burning pain seared through Sasuke's shoulder. Orochimaru had bitten him, leaving a black, pulsing mark behind. Sasuke screamed, falling to his knees. Naruto charged, light flaring, but Orochimaru's body seemed to dissolve and reform, twisting out of the way, reappearing behind Sakura. His hands glowed with a purple mist, claws dripping with venom. Naruto didn't think. He launched himself forward, light exploding from his body. For a moment, the entire clearing was bathed in golden fire. Orochimaru recoiled, shielding his eyes, hissing in delight. Yes, show me more, Naruto-kun. Your light is truly beautiful. But even the light couldn't burn through all the poison. Naruto dropped to one knee, panting, vision swimming. Orochimaru bent over Sasuke, whispering, "Let the power in. Let it grow. Find me when you want more." With a final, inhuman grin, he melted into the trees, the venomous mist fading behind him. Naruto crawled to Sasuke's side. The mark pulsed with dark energy, spreading through Sasuke's body. Sakura shook with fear, but she gripped Sasuke's hand, refusing to let go. "Sasuke, stay with us. Don't give in." Sasuke gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his face, the curse mark blazing. I won't lose, not now." Naruto placed his hand over the mark, focusing all the light he could muster, forcing the venom back. For a moment, the blackness receded and Sasuke's breathing eased. But the mark remained, a reminder that this world, was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Naruto looked up at the trees, where Orochimaru had vanished. He knew now, they weren't just fighting for promotion or pride. They were fighting for their very souls. And the real test had only just begun. The moon hung low, its pale glow barely reaching through the tangled branches. Sasuke's breathing had steadied, but the black mark still throbbed at the base of his neck, a reminder of Orochimaru's venom and promise. Sakura stayed at his side, hand trembling as she dabbed his brow. Naruto kept watch, light ready at his fingertips. Every sound in the forest now seemed louder, every shadow a threat. They needed to reach the tower, but the forest wasn't finished with them yet. A rustle in the undergrowth. Footsteps, deliberate, inhumanly quiet. For figures emerged, the sound for Orochimaru's chosen bodyguards, each one cloaked in arrogance and strange, animalistic energy. The leader, Jiraiya, grinned, his bulk dwarfing the others. "Orochimaru-sama wants the Uchiha alive. You're coming with us." Beside him, Taiya flicked a strand of red hair and smirked, a flute slung across her shoulder. Kidamaru's eyes gleamed with six-pointed cunning. Sakan cracked his knuckles, a wild look in his eyes. Naruto stepped forward, hands blazing. "You're not taking anyone." Jirobo's grin widened. "Let's see if the light ninja is as bright as they say." He slammed his hands down, the earth trembling, his devil fruit power unleashed. Stone scales rippled up his arms, transforming him into a beast of living rock. Taiya's flute trilled, and the sound twisted in the air, disorienting Sakura. Kidamaru spun webbing from his fingertips, an unnatural, spider-like agility. Sakan split, his body doubling, two versions of him attacking at once. Sasuke tried to stand, but the curse mark pulsed, dragging him down. Naruto flashed into action, a golden streak, dodging Jirobo's stone fists and slicing through Kidamaru's webs with beams of light. Sakura grit her teeth, fighting through the dizziness to launch kunai at Taiya. But the sound four were relentless. They pressed closer, every devil fruit-enhanced attack designed to separate Team 7. Jirobo roared, slamming Naruto into a tree. For a moment, the world flickered, Naruto's vision blurred with gold. He focused, remembering Iruka's words, "It's not the power, it's what you do with it." With a shout, Naruto unleashed a pulse of light, blinding the sound four for an instant. Sasuke, finding a moment of clarity, launched a desperate burst of chakra, knocking Sakan back. Sakura shielded the scroll, refusing to yield, but the enemy regrouped fast. Taiya's music grew wilder, and Kidamaru's webs began to encase the team. Jirobo advanced, intent on crushing Naruto. Naruto saw his friends surrounded, the odds impossible. For the first time, fear and fury mixed with his light. Not just the fear of losing, but of losing them. With a last surge of energy, he gathered all the light he could. "You're not taking them." A blinding explosion lit up the forest, scattering the sound four and shattering their webbing and illusions. As the light faded, the sound four retreated, grumbling curses, but not before Kidamaru hissed, "This isn't over, brat. You've only delayed the inevitable." Silence settled again. Team 7 collapsed together, bruised but safe, for now. Sakura clung to Sasuke's arm, eyes wet with relief. Naruto sat beside them, his light finally spent, hands shaking. Sasuke looked at Naruto, pride and rivalry mixing in his tired gaze. "You're such an idiot, You know that? Naruto managed a lopsided grin. Takes one to know one. Above them, the moon broke through the clouds, casting silver over gold. The final night in the Forest of Death was nearly over. But as they pressed on toward the tower, Naruto knew the true danger was just beginning, both from enemies outside and the shadows now growing within. After a night of running, hiding, and patching wounds, Team 7 finally reached the looming silhouette of the central tower. Their clothes were torn, faces streaked with dirt and sweat, but the spark of survival shone in their eyes. As the massive doors closed behind them, Naruto allowed himself a sigh of relief. "We made it," he breathed, slumping against the wall. Sasuke managed a tired smirk, the curse mark quiet for now. Sakura squeezed the scroll tight, her smile trembling but proud. The halls were crowded with battered teams from every village. Whispers spread through the crowd, stories of impossible battles, rumors about the light ninja and the other genin who moved like sand, smoke, or shadow. But beneath the exhaustion was a new fire, the preliminaries. Hokage Sarutobi addressed the survivors in a grand, echoing chamber. "You have proven strength and cunning, but only those who continue to shine will earn the title of Chunin. The next test is direct combat, one-on-one, no holding back." Naruto swallowed hard, excitement and anxiety knotting in his gut. His gaze flicked across the other competitors. Gaara, cold and quiet. The mist genin, swirling a haze of smoke between his fingers. The sand kunoichi, sand trickling from her gourd. The bracket spun on the wall, names appearing one by one. Naruto's heart skipped. His first match, Kiba Inuzuka. Kiba swaggered into the ring, Akamaru at his side, a cocky grin on his face. "Ready to lose, Naruto?" But Kiba looked different. His eyes gleamed with a new sharpness, and his movements seemed quicker, more fluid. When the proctor called, "Begin," Kiba exploded into motion, blurring across the arena in a heartbeat, Akamaru right behind. Naruto dodged the first strike, but Kiba was already behind him, a paw-shaped mark glowing on his palm. Naruto's eyes widened. "Another one." Kiba laughed, launching a flurry of blows. "Surprised? I got my own power-up. Call it a little gift from the gods." He flexed his hand and, in a burst of energy, sent Naruto flying with a single open palm strike. Naruto crashed, rolling back to his feet, golden light flickering in his skin. So this was the power of the pawpaw fruit, a devil fruit from legends, now in the hands of one of his old classmates. The crowd gasped as the two clashed, Kiba's pawpaw blows warping the air, Naruto's light weaving in and out with dizzying speed. Each movement became a dance of gold and silver, Kiba grinning as he pushed Naruto harder than ever before. But Naruto wasn't just fighting to win. He was fighting to show everyone, especially himself, that his power could mean something more. He narrowed his eyes, focusing. In a single, blinding burst, he dodged Kiba's strongest attack, moving so fast he left an afterimage behind. The next instant, he appeared behind Kiba and tapped him lightly on the shoulder with a shimmering hand. A wave of golden light rippled over Kiba, knocking him forward and out of the ring. The crowd erupted, half in awe, half in fear. Akamaru yipped in surprise. Kiba picked himself up, grinning. "Guess you're still number one, Naruto. But don't get cocky. The exams are just getting started." Naruto helped Kiba up, a real smile on his face. For a moment, the tension faded, replaced by the old bond of friendship. But as he looked up at the waiting competitors, their strange, new powers crackling in the air, Naruto realized his journey was only just beginning. In the shadows above, a pair of cold eyes watched. Orochimaru smiled, already imagining the chaos to come. And elsewhere, Sasuke gripped his arm, the curse mark burning, his own rivalry with Naruto growing stronger with every passing moment. The world was watching. And for Naruto, the next battle would demand everything he had. The crowd in the arena buzzed with excitement. Naruto watched from the stands, still catching his breath from his own match, as Sakura's name flickered on the bracket. Her opponent, Ino Yamanaka, her oldest rival and, once, her best friend. Sakura's hands trembled at her sides. She glanced up at her teammates. Naruto's encouraging thumbs up, Sasuke's silent nod. For the first time, she didn't look away. Ino stepped onto the floor, her own nervousness masked by bravado. "Ready to lose, forehead?" Sakura smiled, steadying herself. "Let's see who's changed more." The match began with a rush of shuriken, kunai clashing in midair. Ino tried her old tricks, mind transfer, verbal barbs, appeals to old friendship. But Sakura didn't falter. She dodged, blocked, and countered, her movements more precise than anyone expected. For a moment, the crowd was silent, stunned. Even Naruto forgot to cheer. Ino narrowed her eyes, frustrated. She tried her mind transfer jutsu, but Sakura was ready. Her willpower, forged in nights of fear and hope, snapped the jutsu with a yell. Sakura surged forward, knocking Ino to the ground with a burst of raw determination. Both girls tumbled, grappling, refusing to let go. The proctor finally had to step in. The match declared a tie. The crowd erupted, but Sakura and Ino just lay there, breathing hard. Sakura grinned, her eyes shining. For the first time, she felt like a real shinobi. In the stands, Naruto cheered, heart swelling with pride. She did it. Even Sasuke's lips curled into a faint, approving smile. But beneath his calm, Sasuke's hand gripped his arm. The curse mark still pulsed, the memory of Orochimaru's venom a constant ache. He glanced at Naruto, envy and gratitude warring in his gaze. He wanted to be strong, stronger than Naruto, stronger than anyone. But the path ahead felt darker every day. The next matches flew by, Shikamaru's brilliance, Lee's reckless bravery, Gaara's chilling power. But for Team 7, everything was different. Sakura's courage inspired them, a reminder that power wasn't everything. A strong heart mattered just as much. Later, in the waiting room, Sakura found Naruto and Sasuke sitting quietly. Naruto grinned, nudging Sakura's shoulder. "You were awesome, Sakura-chan. I think you scared Ino more than I did." Sasuke only nodded, but there was real respect in his eyes. "We're not done yet," he said quietly. "The exams get harder from here." Sakura straightened, her fear replaced by determination. "Then we get stronger, together." Naruto looked at both of them, feeling the old bond of Team 7 solidifying. No matter how wild the world became, this was something worth protecting. Above, the proctors announced the next matchups. The promise of the finals hung in the air, bright and deadly. And deep in the shadows, Orochimaru smiled. Every test, every rivalry, every burst of devil fruit power, bringing him closer to his goal. But for now, Team 7 had weathered another storm. Together, the tension in the arena shifted as Gaara's name was called. Every genin in the stands grew quiet, a collective chill running through the room. Even the adults watching from above leaned forward, worried. Gaara stepped into the ring, eyes rimmed with red, face blank and cold as stone. Opposite him stood Lee, the taijutsu prodigy, brave, hopeful, determined. But even Lee's smile faltered at the way Gaara's sand seemed to move of its own accord, coiling around him like a living thing. The match began with a blur. Lee launched forward, faster than most could see, his kicks and punches raining down on Gaara's sand shield. The crowd gasped as Lee opened his first gate, then a second, pushing his body to the limit. But Gaara barely flinched. With a wave of his hand, the sand thickened, denser, sharper, glowing faintly with an unnatural energy. Naruto watched from the stands, fists clenched. Something was wrong. It wasn't just Gaara's sand. His teammate, Suna, stood nearby, her own devil fruit sand drifting between her fingers, feeding power to Gaara's gourd, making the shield nearly impenetrable. Even Lee's best wasn't enough. In a flash, Gaara's sand caught him midair. Bones cracked. Blood spattered the ground. "Stop!" Naruto shouted, leaping to his feet. But Gaara didn't hear him. His eyes were empty, lost in a storm of rage and loneliness. Kakashi appeared in a heartbeat, grabbing Lee and prying him from the sand just before it could crush him completely. The proctors intervened. The match called, Lee unconscious but alive, barely. Gaara stared at Naruto as he was led away. "You shine, but all light creates shadows. Someday you'll see." Naruto's breath caught. For the first time, he felt the weight of true fear. Not just for himself, but for his friends. For what these new powers, the devil fruits, could unleash if left unchecked. Later, Team 7 gathered in the waiting room. Sakura tended to Lee, tears streaking her cheeks. Naruto paced, restless, angry. Sasuke was silent, watching Gaara with a new wariness and jealousy, too, at the power on display. Naruto looked at his own hands, the golden shimmer there, and wondered if he could really stop something as monstrous as Gaara. Kakashi found them after the match. "You all saw what happens when power is used without control. Don't forget it," he warned, his tone softer than usual. Naruto nodded, resolve burning under his fear. He didn't just want to be noticed anymore. He wanted to be strong enough to protect his friends from monsters like Gaara, and maybe from himself. As the preliminaries continued, whispers swept through the arena about devil fruits and ancient powers returning. Allies eyed each other with new suspicion, rivals watched with envy. And above them all, in the highest shadows, Orochimaru and the leaders of each village began to see that the world of shinobi was changing forever. Naruto sat with Team 7 as the last matches finished, a heavy silence between them. Outside, rain began to fall, washing the blood from the arena floor. And somewhere in that rain, a promise took root inside Naruto's heart. He would find a way to shine, not just as a weapon, but as a hero, no matter how dark the shadows grew. The preliminaries ended, but the tension lingered in the halls of the academy. Lee was rushed to the hospital. Whispers of Gaara's monstrous sand and the growing devil fruit phenomenon buzzed through the village like angry wasps. Even the Hokage's advisors held hushed meetings late into the night, worried about the balance of power. Naruto couldn't sleep. The images haunted him. Lee broken on the ground, Gaara's empty eyes, his own trembling hands. He knew he was strong, but he also knew he couldn't control the light within him. Not really. Not when it mattered most. So when Jiraiya, the legendary Toad Sage, appeared in Konoha and called him out before dawn, Naruto went without question. They met outside the village, by the river where mist curled above the water and the first birds sang. Jiraiya looked Naruto up and down, his gaze both shrewd and kind. "You've got a lot of eyes on you, kid," Jiraiya said, stroking his chin. "Some want to use you. Some want to destroy you. But none of them understand what you're carrying." Naruto bristled. "You mean the Kyuubi?" Jiraiya shook his head. "That sure. But also that other thing. The power that moves faster than thought. That leaves you glowing in the dark." He handed Naruto a scroll. "I've seen something like it before. Long ago. Legends talk about fruits that grant impossible abilities. Gifts from another age. Or maybe another world." Naruto's eyes widened. "Devil fruits." Jiraiya nodded. "If you want to use it without losing yourself, you need control. You need purpose. So let's start with the basics." Training was brutal. Jiraiya forced Naruto to run until his legs burned, to meditate until the light in his skin calmed to a gentle glow, to focus on not just unleashing power, but shaping it, turning it into a tool, not a wildfire. They worked on channeling the light, not just for speed or bursts of energy, but to heal, to sense, to create dazzling distractions instead of pure destruction. For the first time, Naruto felt hope, that he could make his gift into something more. Jiraiya also taught him about the Rasengan, a technique that required total focus and control. At first, Naruto struggled, the swirling ball of chakra exploding or flickering with unpredictable flashes of gold. But every failure taught him something new. "Don't let it explode, Naruto," Jiraiya said, laughing as he shook water out of his hair after another blast. "Guide it. You're not a storm, you're the sun." At night, Jiraiya told stories. Long ago, some say, shinobi found these fruits after a great battle, maybe even before the first Hokage. But they were hidden away, locked up, because everyone feared what they could do. Naruto thought about Gaara, about the Sand Kunoichi and Kiba's new strength, about the Mist Ninja whose smoke nearly suffocated him. The world was full of unknowns, and he was right at the center of it. "Why me?" Naruto asked, quiet for once. "Why'd I have to be the one to find it?" Jiraiya smiled, softer than Naruto had ever seen. "Sometimes, the world gives power to the ones who need it most, or the ones it hopes will change everything. You've got to decide which one you want to be, Naruto." Days blurred together, training, sweat, moments of joy and frustration. But by the end of the week, Naruto stood by the river, panting, holding a shimmering, perfectly stable Rasengan in his glowing palm. He grinned, triumphant, as Jiraiya applauded. And in that moment, Naruto realized that maybe, just maybe, he could be more than a weapon. He could be a hero. The finals were coming, and with them, new threats, new powers, and the next chapter of a world forever changed by the light. The village of Konoha bustled with life, but a new kind of tension ran through every street. Banners for the Chunin exam finals fluttered in the breeze, drawing crowds from across the land of fire. Yet beneath the excitement, suspicion and anxiety thrummed. Everyone had seen what Naruto, Gaara, and others could do, and everyone had questions. Was this the dawn of a new age of shinobi? or the beginning of something dangerous. Naruto returned to the village with a new sense of calm. The days of training with Jiraiya had left him exhausted but hopeful. He found Sakura waiting at the ramen stand, her eyes lighting up as she spotted him. "You look different," she said, sliding him a bowl. "More balanced. Did that old perv really teach you anything useful?" Naruto grinned, showing off a quick flash of light at his fingertips. "I think so. I'm gonna ace the finals, you'll see." Sasuke joined them, quiet and tense, the curse mark hidden under his collar. He didn't look Naruto in the eye, but there was something respectful in the way he sat down beside them. For a rare moment, Team 7 just enjoyed being together. But around them, whispers lingered. "Isn't that the kid who? I heard they can all do it now. Eat one of those fruits, and you're not even human anymore." Naruto tensed, but Sakura nudged his knee. "Ignore them. We know who you are." Meanwhile, in the Hokage's tower, a different conversation unfolded. Sarutobi sat with the council, their voices sharp and uncertain. "We can't let this continue," one elder argued. "Devil fruit users are too dangerous. They throw off the balance. But some of our own have eaten the fruits," countered another. "We need them for defense. Konoha can't fall behind the other villages." Tsunade, newly arrived in the village and still a stranger to some, leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Power always changes hands. The question is, what do we do when it does?" Sarutobi exhaled a plume of smoke. "For now, we watch. We prepare. And we trust the next generation to lead us." As the finals approached, the city filled with foreign shinobi, dignitaries, and merchants, each one eager to see the new era unfold. Rivalry simmered. The Mist team watched Naruto from a distance, their smoke wielder never far from his teammates. The Sand Kunoichi with her hungry sand prowled the markets, eyeing competitors. Gaara kept to the shadows, his presence a cold warning. Team 7 trained harder than ever. Sakura practiced healing jutsu, vowing to never be helpless again. Sasuke disappeared for hours, seeking his own path, one that grew darker every day. Naruto, for his part, balanced light and control, repeating Jiraiya's words like a mantra. "You're not a storm, you're the sun." One evening, Naruto met Kiba and Shikamaru by the riverbank. Kiba grinned, paw prints still glowing on his palm. "So we're the freak squad, huh? Not so bad. Makes us special." Shikamaru just shrugged, hands in his pockets. "As long as we're not the ones cleaning up the mess." They all laughed, a rare sound in these strange days. But in the deep shadows beyond the walls, other voices whispered. Orochimaru, hidden behind his disguises, prepared his own army of devil fruit users and Nin. Akatsuki, the mysterious rogue organization, began to take notice of the chaos blooming in Konoha. The Chunin exam finals loomed, a gathering storm ready to break. And at the heart of it, Naruto Uzumaki stood with his friends, the future bright and uncertain, but his resolve stronger than ever. Night fell quietly over Konoha, but Sasuke Uchiha couldn't rest. He stood alone atop the Hokage monument, the wind whipping at his clothes, eyes burning with restless energy. The curse mark still ached on his skin, a dark promise throbbing beneath the surface. He clenched his fists, remembering every moment he'd felt weak. Gaara's monstrous power, Naruto's impossible light, Lee's selfless courage. He wanted to be stronger. No, he needed to be stronger. Not just for himself, but for the revenge that haunted his dreams, and for the pride that would never let him fall behind. As the village slept, Sasuke slipped through the quiet streets to a hidden training ground on the edge of the forest. He'd heard whispers of a secret way to master the curse mark, to unlock even more power. His mind replayed Orochimaru's words, "Let the power in. Let it grow. Find me when you want more." Instead, he saw Kakashi. Kakashi waited for him in the shadows, calm and expectant. "Couldn't sleep?" the Jonin asked, his single eye unreadable. Sasuke didn't bother with excuses. "Teach me," he said, voice flat but urgent. "I need to get stronger, now? Whatever it takes." Kakashi nodded. "I thought you might come. I'll show you everything I know. But listen, strength isn't just power. It's control. If you let the curse mark guide you, it'll eat you alive." Sasuke gritted his teeth. "I'll control it. I have to." The training was brutal. Kakashi forced Sasuke through endless rounds of taijutsu, pushing him to the brink, making him channel his Sharingan and chakra together. When Sasuke faltered, the curse mark flared, pain and power mingling, tempting him to surrender. Each night, he left the training ground aching and angry, but a little sharper, a little more focused. In the darkness, he sometimes thought he heard Orochimaru's laughter, but he pressed on, refusing to break. Meanwhile, Naruto and Sakura noticed Sasuke's growing distance. He's pushing himself too hard. Sakura fretted, watching Sasuke vanish into the twilight again. Naruto frowned, worry and rivalry twisting in his gut. He'll be ready for the finals. He always is. But maybe he's not fighting just for himself anymore. Sakura bit her lip, glancing at Naruto's glowing hands. Neither are you. Team 7's training sessions were charged with new energy. Kakashi balanced the tension with calm wisdom, helping Sakura strengthen her healing techniques, guiding Naruto as he merged his light with chakra control, and challenging Sasuke to use his power without losing his soul. Elsewhere, other teams prepared as well. Kiba and Shikamaru sparred under the watchful eye of Asuma. Gaara meditated in the shadows, his sand shifting restlessly. The Mist and Sand Devil Fruit users sharpened their strange abilities, each plotting for their moment in the finals. All the while, rumors swirled. They say the finals will be like nothing anyone's ever seen. I heard someone from the Sound Village can turn into a monster. Who'll be the next to fall? On the eve of the finals, Naruto stood with Sakura on the roof, watching the city lights twinkle. "We're ready, right?" he asked quietly. Sakura nodded, her confidence hard-won. "We are. Whatever happens, we face it together." As midnight approached, Sasuke returned, breathless and silent, but a new determination shining in his eyes. The team stood side by side, three friends in the calm before the storm. Each changed, each carrying their own secrets, but all connected by a bond that might be the last hope for what was coming. And far below, in the deepest shadows, Orochimaru and his allies smiled, waiting for the storm to break. Night draped itself over Konoha like a cloak. But in the alleys and behind closed doors, the city was wide awake with rumors, nervous glances, and secret meetings. The Chunin exam finals were only hours away. Banners fluttered in the lamplight, and crowds from distant lands packed the streets. Yet everyone felt it. Something was wrong beneath the excitement, a quiet tremor in the heart of the village. In the shadows near the outskirts, Orochimaru slipped through the darkness, his movements smooth and unhurried. He had watched the new age of power unfold with hungry eyes, devil fruits awakening across the nations, his own army growing stronger by the day. But his patience had limits. He arrived at a hidden lair deep underground, where his most trusted sound knelt in a circle, their Zoan powers flickering in the gloom. "It's almost time," Orochimaru whispered, his voice a silk-wrapped blade. Konoha is distracted by the spectacle of strength. While they watch the arena, we move in the shadows. He reached into a stone box, pulling out a single, jet-black fruit, the venom fruit, its surface pulsating with unnatural life. He smiled, letting the fruit rest in his palm. "With this, I become the nightmare they all fear. No barrier, no power, devil fruit or otherwise, will stop what is coming." The sound for each pressed their hands to the ground, a dark ritual sealing their pact. Above, in the Hokage's tower, Sarutobi watched the moon through his window. He felt the village's unease in his bones, his heart heavy with memories and worry. Tsunade joined him, her expression grave. "We can't control it anymore," she said softly. "The fruits, the powers, the fear. Even the children are becoming weapons." Sarutobi sighed, gazing at the stone faces of the Hokage monument. "It was always coming. Change is never gentle. But I have faith in them, in Naruto, in his friends. They'll choose a better path." Elsewhere, Team 7 gathered one last time before the finals. Naruto paced nervously, golden light flickering at his fingertips. Sakura checked and rechecked her gear. Sasuke stood at the window, silent but burning with anticipation. "We'll give it everything," Sakura promised, determination steadying her voice. Sasuke nodded, his Sharingan glinting in the half-light. Naruto grinned, bouncing on his toes. "No one's taking this from us. Not now." Outside, the streets filled with shadows, foreign ninja, masked figures, and agents from every hidden village, all drawn to the storm building in Konoha. And high above it all, Orochimaru watched, his eyes like twin coins of hunger and hate, ready to reshape the future with poison and ambition. Tomorrow, everything would change. The arena was packed to bursting. Flags from every hidden village waved in the morning breeze. Merchants hawked food from crowded stands. Daimyo and ninja alike filled the highest seats, and Konoha's entire future seemed to hang on the edge of every heartbeat. Naruto stood in the competitors' waiting room, peeking out at the ocean of faces. His nerves trembled, but beneath the fear was something else: pride, hope, a stubborn belief that today would matter. Today, I'll show everyone what my power can really do. Not just for me, for all of us. Sasuke leaned against the far wall, eyes closed, silent as a blade waiting for its moment. Sakura checked her supplies for the 10th time, her resolve bright as the sun. Kakashi entered, his usual lazy slouch hiding a careful alertness. You all know what's at stake. Stay sharp, watch each other's backs. Remember, the real fight isn't always in the arena. Naruto looked up at his sensei. We're ready. The opening ceremony was a blur. Introductions, formal speeches, the Hokage's calm, heavy gaze passing over each competitor. But the moment the matches began, everything else faded away. First up, Naruto versus the Mist Ninja, his rival from the Forest of Death, smoke swirling lazily from his hands. The crowd leaned forward, anticipation crackling in the air. The proctor dropped his hand. Begin. Smoke and light collided. The Mist Ninja's devil fruit power billowed out in choking waves, his hands vanishing into gray fog, forming claws, blades, then solid walls that pressed Naruto to the edge of the ring. Naruto darted, blinking from place to place, the Pika-Pika no Mi's light bending reality around him. The Mist Ninja was clever, always adapting, always shifting shape. But Naruto was faster. This time, his movements were precise, controlled. No wild bursts, no danger to bystanders. He remembered Jiraiya's lessons, focusing his energy into a beam of gold, slicing through the densest smoke, finding his opponent's real body and landing a dazzling blow. The crowd exploded with cheers and nervous awe. The Mist Ninja, battered but smiling, nodded. Looks like the legends are true, but there are more of us coming. Naruto offered a hand, helping him up. Then I'll beat all of you too. Believe it. Next, Sakura fought the Sand Kunoichi, her devil fruit sand powers nearly overwhelming. But Sakura's training and newfound confidence let her hold her ground. She used strategy, traps, and medical jutsu, holding out for a draw. Even Gaara, watching from the stands, raised an eyebrow in approval. Sasuke's match was a brutal dance of speed and Sharingan precision. His movements faster, sharper, the curse mark flickering under his collar, but held at bay by sheer force of will. When he won, he barely acknowledged the applause, instead glancing at Naruto, rivalry and respect burning in his eyes. As the day wore on, the battles became stranger, wilder. Devil fruit powers and Kekkei Genkai clashed, the old rules of jutsu giving way to something new. Some in the stands cheered. Others muttered nervously, glancing at the Hokage and the village elders. Change was here, and not everyone was ready. In the highest seats, Sarutobi and Tsunade watched the future unfold. Tsunade leaned in, her eyes troubled. Is this what you hoped for? Sarutobi exhaled, watching Naruto bow to the crowd. I hoped for a new era, but I never knew if we would survive it. As sunset painted the arena in gold and scarlet, the last match ended. The finalists were chosen: Naruto, Sasuke, Gaara, and the strongest of the new devil fruit users. The city buzzed with excitement and unease. In the shadows, Orochimaru and his sound were prepared for their own terrible entrance. And in the heart of it all, Naruto stood tall, the light in his eyes shining not just for himself, but for the friends, the village, and the world he was determined to protect. Tomorrow, everything would change. Morning broke bright and clear, banners rippling over Konoha's great stadium. The air was thick with anticipation, every seat filled, every alley buzzing. Naruto stood in the tunnel, hands clenched, feeling the weight of expectation pressing on his shoulders. He could hear the distant roar of the crowd, the eager cries for the next great spectacle. Sasuke stood beside him, his gaze fixed and unreadable. Sakura, in the stands, watched with fists tight in her lap, silently cheering for both of them. Above, the Hokage and village elders looked on, faces grave with the burden of what might come. The first match, Naruto versus Neji Hyuga. The arena's hush was electric as Neji stepped into the sunlight, white eyes cool and pitiless. You think destiny can be changed with light alone? He said softly. Naruto squared his shoulders, his glow subtle but defiant. I don't care about destiny. I care about never giving up. The proctor's hand dropped. Begin. Neji struck like a storm, his Byakugan catching every feint. Gentle fist and swirling palm. Each movement perfect. Every attack aimed at sealing Naruto's chakra. But Naruto was no longer the wild, desperate boy of months ago. He moved at the speed of thought, golden flickers escaping Niji's sharpest strikes. Where Niji closed one tenketsu, Naruto redirected energy through light, improvising on the fly. The battle was fierce and beautiful, Byakugan precision against unpredictable radiance. Niji nearly had him, locking off Naruto's right arm, but Naruto countered by channeling all his remaining power into his left, shaping the radiant Rasengan for the first time. With a cry, he drove it home, not to destroy, but to break through Niji's defenses, knocking him clear across the arena. The crowd roared. Niji lay stunned, blinking in disbelief. Naruto reached down, offering a hand. "You're not stuck, Niji. No one is. Not you. Not me." For the first time, Niji smiled, just a little. But the victory was short-lived. Even as the next match began, Sasuke versus Gaara, a strange tension crept through the crowd. Birds circled uneasily overhead. Kankuro and Temari, in the stands, exchanged anxious glances. Then, without warning, the sky exploded with smoke bombs and kunai. Foreign ninja leapt from the rooftops, masks glinting. The sand and sound's forces had arrived. The invasion was underway. Villagers screamed. Anko and the proctors rushed to protect civilians. The Hokage stood, cloak billowing, ready for battle. Orochimaru, disguised among the crowd, smirked. His sound four revealed themselves, their Zoan powers igniting chaos as they swept through the stadium. Above, massive snakes crashed through the outer walls, and the air filled with poison mist, the venom fruit unleashed. Sasuke and Gaara's battle was thrown into madness as Gaara, panicking, unleashed Shikaku's sand in a monstrous wave. Sasuke's curse mark flared, black flame twisting across his skin. Naruto watched in horror as the world fell apart. His friends, his village, everything he loved suddenly at risk. He didn't hesitate. Light burst from his body as he raced into the chaos, vowing not just to fight, but to save everyone he could. The finals were forgotten. Now, Konoha's very survival was at stake. And for Naruto, this was the moment his legend would truly begin. The stadium was a battlefield. Poison smoke curled along the stands. Sand exploded in monstrous waves, turning stone to shifting dunes. The screams of civilians, the clash of kunai, and the guttural roars of summoned beasts blended into a storm of violence and fear. Naruto surged into the chaos, the light in his body flaring bright as hope and panic warred in his chest. He saw Sakura pinned under rubble, Sasuke locked in desperate battle with Gaara, whose sand, swollen by fear and Suna's devil fruit power, was transforming into a living nightmare. Above it all, Orochimaru and his sound form moved with monstrous grace, their Zoan powers twisting their bodies into beasts, Jirobo's stone hide, Taiya's demonic music, Kidamaru's webbed limbs, Sakan splitting in two and tearing through defenders. The venom fruit's poison rolled through the air, sapping the strength from Konoha's defenders. Naruto moved at the speed of thought, beams of light cutting through darkness, pulling civilians to safety, shielding Sakura with a dazzling barrier just as rubble collapsed overhead. "Sakura, get to cover. Help anyone you can." She nodded, tears streaming down her face, determination stealing her limbs as she crawled from the wreckage and dragged a wounded Chunin to safety. On the other side of the field, Sasuke pressed his attack on Gaara. But Gaara was not himself. Sand covered him like a shell, and Suna, her own sand swirling with devil fruit power, poured energy into Gaara's gourd. The sand beast grew larger, teeth and claws emerging, chakra wild and uncontrolled. "You can't win, Sasuke," Gaara's voice rumbled, half human, half monster. "Only monsters survive." Sasuke's curse mark flared, black lightning crackling across his skin. He glanced at Naruto. Just a second, just enough for Naruto to see the pain and fear beneath his pride. "Don't let him get away," Sasuke called out, breathless. Naruto nodded, eyes burning gold. He raced to Sasuke's side, light flickering, weaving through sand and stone. Together, they launched a coordinated attack, Sasuke's Chidori carving a path, Naruto's light bursting open the armored shell. But every wound only made the sand angrier, the beast bigger. From the rooftops, Suna and her teammates unleashed their own attacks, sand fangs, and swirling claws crashing down toward the defenders below. Kiba, Shikamaru, and Lee joined the fray, their devil fruit powers flickering. Paw shockwaves, shadow grabs. Even Lee's new speed granting him flashes of blue lightning as he darted through the sandstorm. Still, the invaders pressed on, and Orochimaru's laughter echoed above the carnage. At the stadium's center, the Hokage clashed with Orochimaru, old master and traitorous student locked in a deadly dance. The venom fruit's power twisting every jutsu into a new horror. Naruto felt the world tipping toward disaster. But then, deep inside, something steadied him. The memory of Jiraiya's words, the warmth of Iruka's smile, the courage of Sakura and Sasuke fighting at his side. I am not alone. He pressed forward, light swirling in his hands, determined not just to fight, but to save, to protect, to lead. As the sand beast roared and the stadium shook, Naruto gathered all the energy he could, preparing for the fight of his life. Because in this battle, the outcome wouldn't just decide the fate of the Chunin exams or the village. It would decide what kind of world would be born from the darkness. The village was on the edge of ruin. The sand's monstrous tanuki beast towered above shattered rooftops, bellowing in Gaara's warped voice. Sound ninja rampaged through the streets, their Zoan powers twisting them into things from nightmares. Bats swooping down from the sky, wolves tearing through barricades, a hulking bull smashing through walls. Naruto's heart hammered in his chest. Everywhere he turned, he saw friends and strangers alike risking everything to hold the line. Shikamaru's shadows lashed out, pinning enemies to the ground. Kiba and Akamaru bounded across rooftops, paw shockwaves clearing paths for trapped villagers. Lee, battered but unstoppable, became a streak of blue and green, knocking back enemies twice his size. But the greatest threat was still ahead. At the center of the storm, Gaara, twisted by Suna's devil fruit, sand, and his own inner demon, sank deeper into madness, his monstrous form drawing chakra from the very earth. Sasuke fought furiously, curse mark burning as he forced himself between the beast and the terrified civilians, every Chidori carving a path through the living sand. Naruto found him at last, battered and bleeding. Sasuke looked up, sweat and sand streaking his face. Can't hold it back much longer. Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder, sharing his own light. You're not alone. Let's finish this together. They charged as one, Sasuke's black lightning meeting Naruto's golden beams, forcing open a path to Gaara's true self inside the monster. For a moment, Naruto saw Gaara's eyes, wide, lost, begging for something only a friend could give. Gaara, Naruto shouted, voice ringing through the chaos. You don't have to do this alone. A pulse of light erupted from Naruto's hands, not to destroy, but to reach Gaara's heart. The sand shuddered, cracking. Gaara roared, trying to claw his way back to himself as Suna screamed in rage, pouring every ounce of her sand power into the beast. Sakura, watching from the sidelines, realized what Naruto was doing. She rallied those around her, using healing jutsu to patch up allies so they could join the push, choosing hope over fear. All around the stadium, Konoha's will of fire blazed. The villagers, the shinobi, even the youngest academy students threw stones, smoke bombs, anything they could find at the invaders. High above, the Hokage and Orochimaru's battle reached its apex, seals and poison, memory and malice, clashing like gods in the sky. Naruto felt the pain, the exhaustion, the weight of everyone's hopes on his shoulders. But he also felt something else. The light inside him no longer wild or frightening, but clear and steady. He pushed everything into a single, blinding radiant Rasengan, the energy coalescing with purpose and love. Believe it, Gaara. You're not a monster. You're not alone. With a final cry, he drove the Rasengan into the heart of the sand beast. The world erupted in gold and white, and when the light faded, Gaara lay still, human once more, tears streaming down his face. The sand fell away. The monster was gone. All around, the invaders faltered. The sound for retreated, their Zoan forms battered. Soon as sand powers flickered and died. Orochimaru, seeing his forces broken and his venom fruit failing to poison the will of the village, hissed in fury, but the Hokage pressed the attack, determined to end the threat once and for all. For one brief, shining moment, Konoha stood together. Heroes, outcasts, and everyone in between. The last stand was not just survival. It was a promise. No matter what darkness came, the light of the hidden leaf would never die. The sky over Konoha was split between dusk and fire. The monstrous sand had fallen. The village's defenders stood battered but victorious, and the invaders reeled. Yet in the heart of the chaos, one force remained. Orochimaru, cloaked in serpentine menace, poison swirling from his hands and fangs glinting with venom. Naruto reached the center of the ruined stadium, breathing hard, golden light radiating from his body. Sakura and Sasuke stood behind him, each exhausted but unbroken. The bond of Team 7 burned into their souls by everything they had survived. Above them, the Hokage and Orochimaru fought like ancient titans. Orochimaru's Zoan-enhanced form twisted and warped, scales and fangs, an aura of toxic mist so strong that even the ground wilted beneath his feet. The third Hokage's chakra was waning, but his will was iron. Orochimaru turned, tongue flicking in delight at the sight of Naruto. So, the child of light finally steps forward. "Are you here to save them all, little son?" Naruto clenched his fists. "I'm here to stop you. I'm here to protect my friends, my village, everyone." Orochimaru's laughter was a blade of ice. Such conviction. But power alone can't save anyone. "Let me show you the true nature of despair." He lunged, a wave of venom surging toward Team 7. Naruto darted in front, his light blooming into a radiant shield that burned the toxins away. The ground beneath Orochimaru cracked and fumed. Venom fruits poisoned corrupting earth and air, threatening to drown Naruto in darkness. Naruto closed his eyes, focusing on everything Jiraiya had taught him, not just to shine, but to channel his light into purpose. He gathered every memory: Irika's kindness, Sakura's strength, Sasuke's pride, the villagers' hopes. The golden aura around him intensified, becoming a beacon even the dying sun could not match. Orochimaru struck, faster than a cobra, claws dripping with lethal venom. Naruto dodged, each move a flash of light, beyond speed, beyond thought. They traded blows. Orochimaru's poison burning holes in the world, Naruto's beams of light scouring every shadow. For a moment, Orochimaru caught him, a talon raking across Naruto's arm, venom seeping into the wound. The pain was immediate, fiery, but Naruto gritted his teeth, pouring his power into cleansing the poison with every pulse of light. Sasuke staggered to his feet, his own curse mark flaring. "We're with you, dope." Sakura, her hands shaking but determined, unleashed healing chakra, helping Naruto hold the line. Orochimaru lashed out at them, furious. "You think friendship will save you? You think the sun never sets?" He unleashed a final barrage. Waves of poison, snakes, a storm of destruction. But Naruto stood tall, light bursting from every pore, forming a radiant Rasengan the likes of which Konoha had never seen. With a defiant roar, he hurled it at Orochimaru, not to kill, but to break the cycle of hate and darkness. The attack struck true, the light enveloping Orochimaru and purging the worst of the venom from the air. The Sannin staggered, weakened, his monstrous form collapsing as the Hokage pressed the attack from above. Orochimaru hissed, retreating into the ruins with his sound four, shadows swallowing him as he vanished. But the poison faded, and the village stood. The battle was won, but at a terrible cost. Naruto fell to his knees, exhausted, blood and golden light mingling on his skin. Sasuke knelt beside him, pride and relief mingling in his eyes. Sakura wept openly, hugging her friends close. All around them, survivors wept, cheered, and looked to the battered boy who had shone brightest in the darkest hour. In that moment, Naruto wasn't just the child of prophecy or the hero of legend. He was the hope of Konoha. And even as the night fell, the village glowed with a new light, a promise that whatever darkness might come, it would never be without hope again. Morning brought silence to Konoha. The smoke and screams had faded, replaced by the slow, careful work of tending wounds and rebuilding what could be saved. The scars on the village ran deep, craters in the ground, shattered homes, memories of fear still flickering in every shadow. Team 7 gathered in the hospital. Naruto's arm was bandaged, the last traces of venom cleansed by Sakura's trembling hands and Tsunade's expert healing. Sasuke lay in a nearby bed, pale but stubborn, his curse mark quiet for now. Sakura moved between them, exhaustion and relief clear in her tired smile. Kiba, Shikamaru, Lee, and the others filtered in throughout the morning, bruised but alive. Each brought word of small victories, a friend saved, an enemy driven back, a stranger protected at the last moment. Yet not all news was good. At the highest room of the hospital, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, lay still. His final battle with Orochimaru had been fierce, and though the Sannin was forced to retreat, the cost had been grave. The Hokage's last act had been to defend the village he loved, sealing away the worst of Orochimaru's power at the cost of his own life. The news swept through Konoha like a bitter wind. Adults bowed their heads. Children asked questions no one could answer. Naruto, when he heard, felt a grief sharper than any wound, a loss that echoed the orphaned ache in his heart. Sakura held his hand. "He was proud of you, Naruto. You know that, right?" Naruto nodded, blinking back tears. "I wanted to show him I could be a hero. I wanted him to see." Sasuke, quiet for once, looked at the ceiling. He did see Dobe. Everyone did. That afternoon, the village gathered in the square, the ruins of the stadium behind them, to say farewell. Shinobi of every rank and age stood shoulder to shoulder. Sand, Leaf, even some sound ninja who had surrendered, all united in mourning and uncertain hope. Tsunade stepped forward, her new Hokage cloak fluttering in the breeze. She looked at the crowd, at Naruto, at Sakura and Sasuke, at the faces old and young. The Hokage protected this village not with power alone, but with love. Today we mourn, but tomorrow we rebuild. With courage, with unity, with the light he left in all of us. Naruto felt the words settle in his chest, a warm, steady glow, gentle and sad. As the ceremony ended, Naruto stayed behind, staring at the empty sky. He thought of Sarutobi, of Jiraiya's lessons, of all the friends he'd fought beside. He made a silent promise to protect Konoha, to carry the will of fire, and to make sure the third sacrifice was not in vain. As evening fell, a tired Team 7 walked the streets together, the bonds between them deeper than ever. For all the pain, Konoha glowed with a new light, the kind that only comes after the darkest night. And somewhere, far beyond the village, the remnants of Orochimaru's forces scattered, whispering stories of the child who had outshone the darkness. The world was watching. But tonight, for the first time, Naruto let himself rest. He knew the road ahead would not be easy, but as long as his friends walked it with him, he believed they could face anything. Together, Konoha was changed. Rebuilding began in earnest. Ninja and villagers working side by side, patching streets, raising broken walls, planting new banners where the old had burned. Tsunade, in her new robes, strode through the city each morning, lending her strength to heal the wounded and settle disputes. Her no-nonsense energy brought order to chaos, yet a warmth in her eyes told everyone that she remembered what it was like to lose and to hope. But for many, scars were slow to fade. Naruto stood on the steps of the Hokage monument. The city spread out below him. The breeze was cool, the sky an endless blue. He watched the sun rise and tried to ignore the nagging doubts gnawing at his heart. He'd fought and won. He'd saved the village, helped save Gaara, too. He'd become a hero, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of those who had fallen. The third Hokage, brave shinobi and villagers, even some enemies whose names he would never know. Sasuke found him there, hands in his pockets, eyes shadowed. "You still thinking about the fight?" Sasuke asked, sitting beside him. Naruto nodded, his voice low. "I thought if I was strong enough, no one would get hurt. But I couldn't save everyone. Not even the Hokage." Sasuke was quiet for a moment. "Power means nothing if you're alone. You fought with us, with everyone. That's why you won. That's why the old man believed in you." Naruto looked up, surprised. "You think so?" Sasuke nodded, a small, rare smile on his lips. "Just don't let it go to your head, Dobe." They sat in companionable silence, watching the sun climb higher. Down below, Sakura helped at the hospital, her medical skills sharper than ever. She comforted the grieving, stitched wounds, and even taught a few younger ninja the basics of healing. Sometimes she joined Naruto and Sasuke after sunset, sharing quiet meals and memories, laughter returning to their small circle little by little. At the Hokage's office, Tsunade faced new burdens. She met with ambassadors, worked late into the night, and studied reports of devil fruit incidents spreading to other villages. She called Team 7 in for a private meeting. "You've all grown, but the world is changing faster than any of us can control," Tsunade said. I need you ready for anything. There will be more threats, new kinds of shinobi, maybe even new fruits. We have to adapt." Naruto nodded, fire returning to his eyes. "We will, Granny. I promise." Tsunade just sighed, rolling her eyes. "Don't call me Granny." One evening, as the city lights flickered on, Naruto wandered the streets. He heard children laughing, playing Light Ninja and Sand Monster, their battles echoing the legend he'd helped create. For the first time, he let himself smile. Maybe being a hero wasn't about saving everyone. Maybe it was about never giving up and never letting the light inside fade, even when the world seemed dark. He looked up at the stars and whispered his promise to the third, to his friends, and to himself. No matter what happened next, he would face it, because the light of Konoha was burning again, and Naruto would make sure it never went out. The days after the battle grew quieter, but never truly calm. While Konoha healed, stories drifted in on every breeze, of strange abilities surfacing in distant lands, of villages wrestling with their own newly awakened powers, and of devil fruit users becoming both heroes and threats. Naruto listened to these tales with a mix of pride and worry. Sometimes, a courier from the land of water or earth would bring news of someone walking on lightning, or turning their body into stone, or transforming into a living shadow. Even among Konoha's own ninja, new rumors spread. A genin from the outskirts suddenly controlling wind with a wave of his hand. A merchant's daughter growing scales after eating a mysterious fruit. Was this the price of victory? Or the start of something greater? On a crisp morning, Team 7 gathered at Ichiraku's for ramen. For a moment, it felt almost normal. Sakura scolding Naruto for slurping, Sasuke rolling his eyes, Naruto's laughter bubbling up like it always had before. But as they ate, a stranger entered the village. A tall, cloaked figure with a wide-brimmed hat, dust swirling in his wake. He moved with the confidence of a seasoned ninja, yet there was something different about him, an air of restless energy, as if he were constantly listening for danger. Kakashi, standing nearby, watched the man approach the Hokage's tower. He felt a ripple of unease. The man's presence, the way his cloak shifted, almost unnaturally, as if wind followed him wherever he went. Inside the tower, Tsunade met the visitor with wary courtesy. He bowed low, his voice steady. "I bring greetings from the land of waves, Lady Hokage. My name is Raiga. My village is grateful to Konoha, but we come with a warning. The devil fruits are spreading. Some seek them for power alone. A rogue group, calling themselves the Eclipse, has already stolen several fruits and is building an army." Tsunade's expression hardened. "Are they moving toward Konoha?" Raiga nodded. "That's their rumor. And there's more. They have a leader, masked and powerful, who claims to be seeking the light." Tsunade's mind raced, her gaze landing on Naruto's name in a report on her desk. "We'll be ready," she promised. "Thank you for the warning." That evening, as sunset painted the rooftops gold, Kakashi found Team 7 training in the field. He shared the news with them. More devil fruit users are appearing. Some are good, some are dangerous. And there's talk of a group coming after those with the strongest powers, like you, Naruto. Naruto's smile faded, replaced with quiet resolve. "Let them come. I'm not scared." Sasuke's eyes narrowed, already considering strategies. Sakura glanced at both of them, her own determination clear. "We faced the worst before," she said. "We'll do it again. Together." The village slept that night under watchful stars, unaware of the storm building beyond its borders. But Team 7 was ready to face whatever came, together, as always. And somewhere in the distance, the first shadowy agents of the eclipse watched Konoha's lights, their ambitions sharp and hungry. Night in Konoha was peaceful, on the surface. Lanterns glowed in the windows, cicadas sang, and most of the village dreamed of gentler days. But in the silent places between the houses, new dangers crept. Naruto slept fitfully, flashes of battles and golden light flickering behind his eyelids. He dreamed of Sarutobi, of Jiraiya's lessons, of faces he'd saved and those he couldn't. Then, in the dream, a shadow with no face whispered, "The world will eclipse your son." He jolted awake, heart pounding. A scream split the quiet. Outside, an explosion lit the sky, purple and black, unnatural as a wound. Within minutes, alarms blared across the village. Naruto was out the door in an instant, Sasuke and Sakura meeting him in the street, both wide-eyed and alert. "What is it this time?" Sakura breathed, tying her hair back as they ran. "Not sound. Something new," Sasuke muttered, Sharingan already active. They rounded a corner into chaos. A group of masked attackers, all wearing black cloaks streaked with silver, the eclipse. One, taller than the rest, flicked his hand and the very air split. A shockwave slicing through the nearest building, sending ninja and civilians scattering. Naruto leapt forward, golden light erupting as he shielded a wounded Chunin from the blast. Sasuke countered another with a streak of lightning. Sakura, heart pounding, stabilized an injured Anbu, using every drop of healing chakra she had. The eclipse moved with terrifying coordination, at least two of them wielding devil fruit powers. One turned his body into smoke, phasing through walls. Another lashed out with arms that stretched like whips, knocking down everyone in their path. But the worst was their leader, a masked figure, tall and calm, whose very presence seemed to darken the air. He spoke, voice echoing, "We're here for the light. Surrender, and we won't destroy your village." Naruto stepped forward, fists glowing, unafraid. "I'm right here. Come and get me if you can." Sasuke and Sakura took their places beside him. "We're not letting you hurt anyone," Sasuke promised. The leader only laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "So be it. Show us what your light can really do." The fight was brutal. Naruto darted and flashed, beams of gold cutting through darkness. But the eclipse seemed to anticipate his moves. Sasuke fought like a storm, black lightning meeting smoke and shadow, pushing himself to the very edge. Sakura worked miracles, pulling wounded to safety, using her chakra to shield allies from the eclipse's strange abilities. The leader advanced, his own power revealed, a sphere of absolute darkness that seemed to swallow all light, nullifying Naruto's brightest attacks. Naruto gritted his teeth, forcing the light within him to burn even hotter. "You want to see my real power? Fine." He let go, becoming light itself, moving faster than thought, forcing the leader back for the first time. But the darkness only thickened, fighting him with every step. The two forces clashed, gold and black, hope and despair, until the eclipse's leader finally called his team back, the village in ruins but not broken. He looked at Naruto with eyes like dying stars. "This is only the beginning. The age of light is over. The world belongs to the eclipse." As the attackers vanished, Naruto collapsed to one knee, gasping for air. Sasuke steadied him, his own body shaking with exhaustion. Sakura pressed her hands to Naruto's shoulder, stopping the bleeding and whispering, "We're still here. We'll always be here." All across Konoha, ninja and civilians emerged from hiding, battered but alive. The message was clear. The age of easy peace was gone. The world was watching, and now, the eclipse was watching, too. But as Naruto stood beneath the battered Hokage monument, golden light flickering in the darkness, he knew he would never let his village fall. No matter how deep the shadow, he would always fight to bring back the dawn. Konoha awoke to the bitter scent of smoke and the sound of hammers. The eclipse attack had left deep scars, shattered homes, wounded ninja, fear haunting the eyes of even the bravest. But the village was alive, and alive meant hope. Naruto limped through the hospital halls, bandaged but restless. Sakura moved from bed to bed, her hands glowing softly, refusing to rest until every wound she could heal was closed. Sasuke, silent as always, paced at Naruto's side, eyes shadowed with anger and ambition. In the Hokage's office, Tsunade called a council of every clan head and Jonin commander. Kakashi spoke first, his tone measured. "We can't wait for the eclipse to strike again. They're after Naruto. If they succeed, every devil fruit user will be hunted." Tsunade nodded grimly. "We strike first, but we need more than force. We need to understand what we're fighting." A stranger stepped forward, Raiga, the visitor from the land of waves. He rolled out a weathered map and pointed to a cluster of islands far to the southeast. "Rumors say the eclipse are based here, and there are older stories." His voice lowered. "They say the devil fruits first appeared in this region, in a war long forgotten. The eclipse believe they can awaken a power greater than any fruit, a source even the gods feared." Gasps filled the room. Naruto felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Then we can't waste time," he said, stepping forward. "If this is about the devil fruits, I have to go." Tsunade's eyes softened, but her resolve did not. Team 7 goes. Kakashi leads. Raiga joins as a guide. You move at dawn. That night, Naruto sat by the old stone monument, staring at the names of heroes and friends. Sakura joined him, silent until she pressed a warm cup of tea into his hands. "You scared?" she whispered. He nodded, honest for once. "Yeah, but I'm not running away. Not from them. Not from what I am." Sakura smiled, tired but proud. "That's what makes you a hero, Naruto." Sasuke appeared, hands in his pockets, gaze set on the horizon. "Don't get all sappy. We leave at dawn. Get some sleep." But his voice was gentle in its way. As the moon rose, Naruto dreamed of light and darkness, of faces lost and faces yet to save. He woke with new resolve. Before dawn, Team 7 gathered at the gates, joined by Kakashi and Raiga, bags packed and weapons ready. The village watched them go, pride and fear mingling in every farewell. Konoha's will of fire burned bright, even as the shadows deepened. As they set out toward the islands, Naruto glanced back once, letting the light in his heart guide his first step forward. Whatever secrets the eclipse held, whatever the truth of the devil fruits, he would face them. Not alone. Not ever again. The sky was overcast as Team 7, Kakashi, and Raiga boarded a battered shinobi transport at Konoha's river docks. The ship, built for speed and stealth, slid quietly from the village into the churning waters that separated the mainland from the islands whispered of in old myths. Naruto leaned over the rail, squinting at the endless sea. The salt wind tugged at his hair, carrying a mix of excitement and anxiety. Sakura stood by him, hands wrapped around her traveling cloak, her eyes drifting toward the horizon. Sasuke stood at the bow, face expressionless, but always watching. Kakashi and Raiga consulted a hand-drawn map, comparing notes and rumors, their voices low and urgent. The first day was calm, but tension clung to every word. Raiga shared what he knew. The islands aren't on any official charts. They say the first devil fruits came from a shipwreck, one that washed up after a storm so wild it changed the world. Naruto listened, brow furrowed. So anyone could have found them? It was just chance. Raiga shook his head. Or fate. As dusk fell, the waves grew rough. Sakura and Naruto tried to sleep, but something about the journey set their nerves on edge. Sasuke rarely spoke, eyes always searching the dark sea for signs of threat. On the second night, a storm struck. Lightning danced across the water, winds howling as if angry spirits guarded the islands. Suddenly, from the mist, another ship appeared, sleek, black-sailed, with the eclipse's silver insignia gleaming on its prow. Arrows and kunai rained down, and shadows moved on the deck. Eclipse agents, several already demonstrating twisted devil fruit powers, one melting into water, another splitting his body into dozens of crows. "Get ready," Kakashi barked, activating his Sharingan as Raiga summoned a spear of wind. Naruto and Sasuke fought back to back, gold and black lightning illuminating the ring. Sakura guarded the ship's crew, her chakra forming barriers against enemy attacks. On the Eclipse ship, their masked leader emerged, his hand outstretched, gathering darkness as the storm raged. "You should have stayed in your village, child of light," he called, his voice booming over thunder. Naruto answered with a burst of golden beams, scattering crows and smoke alike. The ships crashed together in the waves, a battlefield born of sea and storm. For hours, the battle raged. Kakashi dueled a devil fruit user who could phase through wood and steel. Sasuke cut through water clones and crows, lightning dancing at his fingertips. Naruto's light became a beacon in the chaos, burning through every shadow. But the leader was too strong, his darkness growing with every failed attack. He laughed, eyes wild. "You cannot reach the source. The world will belong to those who embrace the shadow." Just as hope faded, Raiga summoned a wall of wind, forcing the Eclipse agents to retreat. The ships pulled apart, battered and burning, the Eclipse vanishing into the mist as quickly as they had come. When dawn broke, the storm was gone. Ahead, the first island loomed, dark, wild, untouched, the air heavy with secrets. Team 7 stood at the prow, breathless and bruised, their mission only just beginning. "Whatever's waiting for us," Naruto whispered. "We'll face it together." Sasuke nodded, his eyes narrowed. Sakura squeezed Naruto's hand, finding strength in the warmth of her friends. And in the rising light, Konoha's hope sailed on, toward the heart of the devil fruit mystery and the next great trial. The morning sun broke through tattered clouds as Team 7's ship beached on the shadowed shore of the first island. Ancient trees, knotted and enormous, stood like silent guardians. Mist clung to the undergrowth, muffling the cries of unseen animals. Even the air felt different, charged, almost watchful. Naruto was the first to leap ashore, curiosity overcoming caution. The ground squelched beneath his feet, cool and spongy. Sasuke and Sakura joined him, weapons drawn. Kakashi and Raiga surveyed the treeline, senses sharp, wary of ambush. "This whole place feels wrong," Sakura whispered, eyes darting from tree to tree. Raiga nodded, lowering his voice. "The locals call it the Island of Shadows. Some say it's cursed. Some say the first devil fruits grew right here." Naruto looked around, light flickering at his fingertips. "If this is where it started, maybe we'll find answers. Maybe a way to stop the eclipse." Their trek began with caution. The deeper they walked, the stranger the island became. Trees twisted into unnatural shapes. The moss underfoot pulsed faintly with energy. Carvings marked ancient stones. Eyes, spirals, symbols like nothing in the shinobi world. Occasionally, Naruto thought he heard voices, whispers in a language he didn't know. Once, he glimpsed a figure flitting between the trees, but when he chased after it, he found nothing but a scrap of old, sun-bleached cloth. Sasuke knelt beside a ruined altar, brushing aside leaves. "Look at this." Carved into the stone was a fruit, unmistakable in its curling lines, a devil fruit, but different from any they had seen. It radiated a strange sense of longing and loss. Kakashi studied it, concern deepening in his gaze. "If the eclipse wants the source, it's here. Whatever power they're after, we have to get to it first." The team pressed on, wary of traps both ancient and new. At a narrow ravine, Sakura stopped suddenly, raising her hand. "Wait. The ground's wrong. Too smooth." A moment later, stone tiles shifted beneath Naruto's feet. He darted away just in time, a barrage of poison darts slicing the air where he'd stood. Further along, a field of black lilies released choking clouds of spores when disturbed, nearly knocking Raiga unconscious before Sakura's healing chakra could counter the toxin. But the greatest threat came as night fell. In the heart of the forest, Team 7 found themselves surrounded by eclipse agents, their eyes reflecting torchlight like those of hungry animals. The masked leader stepped from the shadows, darkness pooling at his feet. "You made it far, children," he said, voice deep and mocking. "But only those who embrace the shadows will survive." He held up an ancient scroll, its seals glowing faintly, the legend of the original devil fruit, said to grant a power that even the gods could not destroy. Naruto stepped forward, light flaring despite exhaustion. "We're not here for power. We're here to stop you and protect everyone," the leader sneered. "Then you'll die with the rest of the dreamers." As the eclipse closed in, Team 7 stood back to back, ready to fight. Against darkness, against old traps, against their own doubts. And somewhere deeper in the woods, the true heart of the island, its legacy of light and shadow, waited to be found. Darkness pressed close as the eclipse encircled Team 7 in the heart of the island. The masked leader stepped forward, the ancient scroll in his hands glowing with eerie light. Around him, his followers fanned out, smoke billowing, limbs stretching, the air twisting with the power of their devil fruits. Naruto stood at the front, gold aura shining defiantly, his friends at his side. He could feel the energy in the island itself, a pulse deep in the earth, calling to every fruit user present. "You're too late," Naruto Uzumaki, the leader intoned. "The source is nearly within my grasp. With it, the eclipse will bring balance, true power, to this broken world. Only those with the strength to claim it deserve to survive." Naruto shook his head, anger and sadness warring in his chest. "Power's not what makes us strong. It's what we do for others. That's what you'll never understand." The leader ignored him, unfurling the scroll. The air shivered as he chanted in a forgotten tongue. The ground beneath the ancient altar split, revealing a hidden stair spiraling into the earth. Team 7 barely had time to react as the eclipse surged forward. Sasuke's lightning and Sakura's healing barriers blazed to life. Kakashi and Raiga dueled the eclipse lieutenants, the clash of jutsu and devil fruit abilities shaking the trees. Naruto and the leader raced down the stairs, gold and black, hope and ambition descending into the island's heart. Below, the air was thick and still. A chamber, carved from the roots of the world, glowed with faint, natural light. In its center, on a pedestal of ancient stone, lay the source. A single, perfectly preserved fruit, silver and gold, pulsing with the energy of both light and shadow. The primordial devil fruit. The leader reached for it. With this, the eclipse will never fade. Naruto darted between him and the pedestal, blocking the way. I won't let you take it. The leader's eyes blazed. You would risk everything for a world that fears you? A world that could turn on you the moment your power scares them. Naruto remembered the wary stares, the fear in the villagers' eyes, and the way those same villagers had cheered when he saved them. He remembered Sakura's faith, Sasuke's rivalry, Kakashi's trust. He shook his head, fists trembling. Even if they're scared, I won't give up on them. Or on myself. Power is a burden, but it's also a chance to protect what matters. The leader sneered and lunged. Their powers collided, light and darkness swirling, the chamber shaking with the force of their ideals. Naruto saw visions in the struggle. The first Hokage, sealing the original fruit away. Shinobi of old, torn apart by the fruit's power, yet others using it to save lives. 1,000 years of hope and fear, locked in endless conflict. As the leader tried to seize the fruit, Naruto made his choice. He reached out, not to consume, but to seal the primordial devil fruit, drawing on every lesson, every bond, every ounce of light he carried. The fruit shuddered, pulsing gold and silver, then faded from sight, vanishing into the seal Naruto's power had created, a barrier no darkness could break. The leader screamed in rage as his shadow powers flickered, weakened by the loss. You fool. You've doomed us all to weakness. Naruto straightened, battered but unbroken. I chose hope over fear. I chose them over myself. Above, the Eclipse agents, sensing their leader's failure, faltered. Team 7 and their allies pressed the attack, driving the invaders from the island. The chamber shook, stone crumbling as the seals settled over the primordial fruit. A final piece, for now, between light and shadow. Naruto climbed the steps back to the surface, exhausted but at peace, his friends waiting at the mouth of the cave. Sasuke nodded, eyes fierce with respect. Sakura hugged Naruto fiercely, whispering, "You did it. You really did." As the sun rose over the island, Team 7 knew the world was still changing, but for the first time, the future seemed bright. And somewhere far away, in the dark corners of the world, new eyes turned toward Konoha, watching and waiting. Sunlight slanted through the ancient trees as Team 7 emerged from the underground chamber, battered but victorious. The ground beneath their feet felt different now, less heavy, the air somehow cleansed. The remaining Eclipse agents, leaderless and scattered, melted into the jungle or surrendered to Raiga's escort from the land of waves. The threat, for now, had passed. Naruto stood at the forest's edge, rubbing the spot on his palm where the sealing mark still glimmered faintly, a sign that the primordial devil fruit was now locked away by his will. He didn't feel more powerful, only more responsible. Sasuke approached quietly, watching the horizon. "You could have taken that power for yourself. Why didn't you?" Naruto glanced at him, tired but certain. "If I'd eaten it, I'd be just like them. Maybe even worse. The world doesn't need a new monster. It needs a light to guide it back." Sasuke grunted, respect and envy mixing in his eyes. "You're still an idiot, but you did the right thing." Sakura tended the wounded with gentle hands, her confidence now matched by skill. Kakashi and Raiga set up a signal fire for the Leaf's retrieval squad. They reviewed the scroll the Eclipse leader had used and confirmed Naruto's seal. Ancient, powerful, and, for now, unbreakable. That night, Team 7 camped under the stars. For a while, no one spoke. The sounds of the island, crickets, the distant call of a strange bird, were strangely comforting after so much chaos. Naruto stared at the seal on his palm. "Do you think it's really over?" Kakashi's visible eye crinkled. "This battle is Naruto, but power like that always draws attention. The world knows your name now. Some will look for help, others for revenge." Sakura shivered, but her gaze was steady. "We'll handle it. Together." Sasuke nodded. "Let them come." A few days later, the retrieval team arrived, a mix of ANBU, medics, and envoys from other villages. Word of the Eclipse's defeat and the sealing of the primordial fruit spread quickly, rippling across the shinobi world. Some reacted with awe. Letters arrived from Suna and Kiri, offering new alliances. Others sent spies or threats, unwilling to trust that Konoha held such power. But Konoha's people cheered their heroes when Team 7 returned, and for the first time, There was more admiration than fear in their eyes. In the Hokage's office, Tsunade read the first reports from distant lands. Devil fruit users were appearing everywhere, some using their powers for good, some falling into darkness. But Konoha's example, the sealing of the greatest fruit, the choice of hope over greed, became a beacon. She turned to Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke, her expression both proud and cautious. You did more than save the world from a new threat. You showed everyone what true strength means. But this isn't the end. Watch each other's backs, and never forget why you fight. Naruto grinned, his doubts eased by the love of his team, his village, and his own growing sense of purpose. As night fell, Naruto stood once more atop the Hokage monument. He closed his eyes, feeling the pulse of light in his hand, and the distant shadow of those still watching, waiting, somewhere out there. But he was ready. Whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. The world had changed, and Naruto, for the first time, believed he could help shape it, one choice, one light at a time. Konoha buzzed with activity as the seasons turned. New buildings rose where old ones had fallen, and villagers gathered for festivals, grateful for the heroes who had driven back both the sound and the eclipse. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke couldn't walk down the street without being greeted by younger genin, eager for stories of their battles. But with peace came new challenges. Other villages sent envoys, some offering friendship, others watching with wary eyes. Rumors of devil fruit users on the borders grew more frequent. A few shinobi, hungry for power, disappeared from their posts, chasing legends of forbidden fruits. In Tsunade's office, a tense council gathered. "The world is changing faster than we can control," said Shikamaru, now a trusted strategist. "If we don't act, the next threat will catch us off guard." Tsunade nodded, her expression grave. "Team 7, you've faced these powers before. I want you to investigate reports from the borderlands. There's talk of a missing leaf ninja who's become something more, and possible eclipse survivors gathering in the shadows." Sasuke's jaw tightened. Sakura squared her shoulders. Naruto nodded, the resolve in his heart burning bright. "We'll bring them home, or stop them if we must," Naruto said. The next morning, Team 7 met at the gate, joined by Yamato as their temporary captain, while Kakashi recuperated from old wounds. Yamato's wood style was a reassuring presence, his calm strength a reminder of Konoha's roots. They set out toward the border, following whispers and clues. Broken branches in the forest, charred ground where strange jutsu had been used, frightened villagers who spoke of a man turning his body to liquid fire. Sasuke scouted ahead, his Sharingan keen. Sakura treated villagers along the way, earning trust and new information. Naruto listened to children's stories, finding truth in their wildest claims. At dusk, they reached a ruined outpost, once a guard station, now a smoldering wreck. A symbol was burned into the wall, half sun, half crescent, eclipse. As they searched for survivors, a voice rang out from the shadows. A figure stepped into the firelight, older, eyes burning with desperate hunger. It was the missing leaf ninja, his body flickering with unnatural energy, wild and unstable. In his hands, a devil fruit pulsed with angry red light. "You shouldn't have come," he said, voice ragged. "The world needs power, not heroes." Naruto stepped forward, gentle but unyielding. "Power's only worth anything if it's used to protect, not to rule. Come back with us, you're still one of us." The man laughed, the light around him surging. "It's too late for that, Naruto. The eclipse is still out there, and they'll never stop." The ground trembled as his power grew. Team 7 readied themselves, preparing for a battle that would test not just their strength, but their faith in each other and in what Konoha stood for. As night fell on the borderlands, Naruto felt the weight of every choice he'd made, every light and shadow inside him. But with his friends beside him, and the will of fire burning in his heart, he was ready for whatever the darkness brought next. The border outpost glowed with the fading heat of flames. Night pressed in on all sides, broken only by the restless flicker of the rogue leaf ninja's devil fruit power. He stood before Team 7, shoulders shaking, anger and sorrow warring in his eyes. The mark of the eclipse burned on his arm, a brand of betrayal and desperate hope. Naruto stepped forward, his light gentle now, not blazing, like sunrise on a wounded world. "You don't have to do this. It's not too late." The man's voice was raw. "You think words can fix this? The world chose monsters and weapons. You don't know what I've seen." Sasuke's eyes narrowed, remembering the curse mark, remembering the cold pull of darkness. He's right about one thing, Naruto. The world is ugly, but it's not hopeless. Not if you fight for it. The man's body flickered, half ash, half fire, the power of his fruit barely contained. He hurled a wave of burning cinders. Yamato's with style shielded the team, but the heat was blinding. Sakura rushed to heal a wounded villager, her determination unwavering. You're hurting yourself more than anyone. Please, come home. Let us help you. The man's fury broke. I wanted to protect Konoha, but the eclipse promised I could fix everything. That we could be strong enough. Naruto met his gaze. Strength without love just makes more pain. I learned that the hard way. As the man faltered, the power in him spiraled out of control. Flames licked at his arms, ash choking the air. Naruto moved at light speed, closing the distance, wrapping the man in a shield of golden energy. The two powers clashed, but Naruto's will, the hope he carried for all of them, held steady. Let it go, Naruto whispered. You're not alone. Not anymore. The flames sputtered, the ash settled. The rogue fell to his knees, sobbing, the devil fruit in his hand dissolving into harmless dust. Team 7 surrounded him. Sasuke standing guard, Sakura kneeling to heal, Yamato gently restraining. Naruto rested a hand on the man's shoulder. You're coming home. Not as a hero, not as a villain, just as one of us. With the threat quelled, the villagers slowly emerged, bowing in gratitude. Yamato sent word to Tsunade. The border was safe, for now. Sakura watched Naruto comfort the fallen ninja and smiled through tears. You always find a way, she whispered. Sasuke looked at the eclipse symbol scorched on the ground and frowned. We ended one darkness, but there's always another waiting. Naruto nodded. That's why we never give up. Not on ourselves. Not on each other. By sunrise, Team 7 and their new companion returned to Konoha. Word spread quickly of the forgiveness shown, the hope restored, and the heroes who chose mercy over vengeance. And somewhere far away, the true leaders of the eclipse learned of their loss. But in the darkness, they began to plan anew, watching, waiting, their ambitions undimmed. In the heart of the leaf, Naruto stood with his friends beneath the Hokage monument, the sky warming with dawn. He knew there would be more battles, more shadows to face. But with every choice, every forgiveness, his light grew steadier, shaping a world where even those lost to darkness could find their way home. Konoha was alive with color and music. For the first time since the invasion and the battles with the eclipse, the village hosted a grand festival. The Festival of New Fire, celebrating survival, peace, and the future. Banners streamed from rooftops, stalls overflowed with food, and laughter echoed in every street. But beneath the joy, serious business moved forward. In the Hokage Tower, Tsunade met with envoys from Suna, Kiri, and even Kyumo. The topic was always the same: devil fruits. Could they be shared? Controlled? Could their dangers be managed? Most importantly, would Konoha help lead the new world or become a threat itself? Tsunade answered with her trademark blend of bluntness and wisdom. Konoha will never use power for conquest. We'll share what we know, but only with those who choose peace. The envoys agreed, but their eyes lingered on the faces of Konoha's young heroes. On the festival's main street, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke tried to lose themselves in the crowd. Naruto wore a broad grin, moving from ramen stall to dango cart, collecting gifts and handshakes from villagers of all ages. Sakura dragged the boys to a ring toss game, then a stall selling beautiful paper lanterns. She bought one for each of them, a lantern for hope, for friendship, for new beginnings. Sasuke pretended to be annoyed, but he didn't leave their side. Sometimes, his eyes lingered on the crowds, as if searching for someone from his past, or perhaps his future. Shikamaru joined them, hands in his pockets, Ino and Choji not far behind. Even Lee, still limping from his last battle, challenged Naruto to a speed-eating contest. The familiar chaos of friends, laughter, and small quarrels felt like a return to a world they'd almost forgotten. But not everyone came for peace. Across the square, a new face appeared. A kunoichi with striking silver hair and eyes sharp as steel, dressed in the uniform of the cloud. She watched Team 7, her gaze lingering on Naruto's hands. When she finally approached, she offered a tight smile. My name is Kiyomi. My village wants to know, what does it feel like to hold power the rest of us can only dream of? Naruto blinked, then answered honestly. It feels heavy, but I'd rather use it to protect people than scare them. She studied him, searching for weakness. Maybe one day, I'll see if you're strong enough to keep it. Then she disappeared into the crowd, leaving only more questions behind. That evening, as fireworks burst over the rooftops, Tsunade gathered the young shinobi on a balcony above the celebration. "You're all the reason we're still standing," she said. "But the world is watching. How you carry your gifts and your scars will decide everything that comes next." The sky filled with golden light. Naruto released his lantern, watching it rise with the others, 1,000 small suns floating into the darkness. He smiled at Sakura, Sasuke, and all his friends, knowing that, no matter how uncertain tomorrow might be, tonight, they could celebrate not just survival, but the hope of something better. And in the shadows at the village gates, travelers and spies took note of the boy who shone brightest in the dark. The future was coming, and Konoha would meet it together. Morning after the festival brought a quieter Konoha, but the shinobi world never rested for long. Naruto and his friends met at the training field, feeling the familiar ache of purpose settling back into their bones. A messenger arrived. Team 7 was to report to the Hokage's office immediately, alone. Inside, Tsunade looked more serious than ever. Scrolls littered her desk, reports from every nation. "We have new information about the origin of the devil fruits," she said, her voice grave. "And about those who still seek them." She unrolled a faded map, marked with locations none of them had ever seen. Records from the land of whirlpools, Uzumaki territory, speak of a vault older than any shinobi village. The texts claimed the first devil fruit tree was moved there after the wars, guarded by a seal only the Uzumaki could maintain. Naruto felt his heart leap at the word Uzumaki. "My family was protecting the world?" Tsunade nodded. "It appears so. And now, the vault's location has leaked. Rumor says both the Eclipse and other villages are sending teams to find it, hoping to gain the ultimate advantage." Sasuke tensed, glancing at Naruto. "If they get there first, we won't let them," Naruto promised, resolve burning. Sakura laid a hand on his arm. "We'll do this together." Like always, Tsunade gave a rare, fierce smile. "I'm sending you because I trust you. But you won't be alone." She handed them 3 new passes. Team 7 was to travel with Kiyomi of the Cloud and an envoy from Suna. Officially, this was a diplomatic mission. Unofficially, every team would be watching the others, alliances and rivalries balanced on a knife's edge. The next day, the group set out. Kiyomi met them at the gates, her silver hair glinting in the morning sun. Her greeting was cool, but her eyes danced with challenge. "Try not to slow me down, Uzumaki." Naruto grinned, matching her energy. "Just keep up, Kiyomi." Their journey was tense from the start. The Suna envoy, a stoic young man named Daichi, said little but watched everything. Sasuke and Kiyomi clashed in training, her lightning-fast reflexes pushing him to reveal new strengths. Sakura found a reluctant camaraderie with Daichi, both sharing stories of healing and old wounds. At night, the campfire became a battlefield of words and wills. Kiyomi challenged Naruto's optimism. Daichi questioned Konoha's wisdom. Sasuke kept his own secrets, observing the interplay of rivals and friends. But as the team crossed rivers and old battlegrounds, Naruto sensed something else, a shadow trailing them, just beyond the edge of the firelight. On the third night, Kiyomi cornered Naruto as he practiced controlling his light. "Do you trust your own village?" she asked quietly, her tone stripped of bravado. "Or do you just hope for the best?" Naruto paused, searching for the truth inside himself. "I trust my friends, and I trust that I can help things change, even if it's slow." Kiyomi studied him, then nodded, as if that was the answer she'd been hoping for. But the next day, as the team neared the ancient Whirlpool Valley, an ambush erupted, masked figures striking with the speed and precision of the eclipse. Steel flashed, lightning cracked. Team 7, Kiyomi, and Daichi fought side by side. Rivals turned allies as the real enemy revealed itself. Naruto realized then, the seeds of rivalry might one day bloom into something more. But in this world of devil fruits and shifting loyalties, trust, like power, was something you had to fight for every single day. The land changed as they neared the valley. Where once there had been a proud Uzumaki village, now there were ruins and rivers. Ancient stone walls half swallowed by swirling water, seals still faintly glowing after centuries. The team moved quietly, each step heavier as they felt the weight of generations pressing down. Daichi from Suna murmured, "No one's crossed this ground in decades." Even the wind feels careful. Naruto led the way, his heart pounding. He felt something calling him, not the power of a devil fruit, but a memory, deep and gentle, like a mother's voice. Sakura walked beside him, steady and brave. Sasuke and Kiyomi scouted ahead, silent and tense. At the center of the valley, half hidden by tangled vines and the spray of a restless river, they found it. A stone door covered in swirling red and white marks. Uzumaki seals, older than any Naruto had ever seen. Kiyomi whistled softly. "Think you can open it, hero?" Naruto placed his hand on the door. The marks warmed under his touch, glowing gold for a heartbeat, responding not just to his blood, but to his will. A voice echoed in his mind. "This power is not for one alone. Trust the bonds that brought you here." He nodded and looked at his friends. "We do this together. All of us." Each member pressed their hand to the door. Konoha, Suna, Cloud, Uzumaki. The seals flared, unlocking with a low, resonant chime. The door slid aside, revealing a spiraling staircase plunging into darkness. Inside, the vault was more than just a hiding place. Carvings lined the walls, telling the story of the first devil fruits, how they'd arrived from beyond the sea, how shinobi and civilians had both been transformed by their gifts and cursed by their temptations, how the Uzumaki, known for sealing and healing, had chosen to guard the source, hoping to keep the world from tearing itself apart. At the heart of the vault, a garden grew, lush and wild, bathed in strange, shifting light. And at the garden's center, protected by a lattice of seals and winding roots, grew a single, golden tree. Fruit hung heavy on its branches. Some shimmered with rainbow light. Others pulsed with power Naruto could barely comprehend. Daichi stared in awe. This is why the world changed." Kiyomi's hand trembled. "If someone ate them all." Sasuke cut her off, voice icy. "That's what the eclipse wants." Suddenly, alarms blared. Ancient seals cracking, foreign chakra flooding the vault. The eclipse had followed them, and now masked agents poured into the chamber, led by a shadowy figure wreathed in darkness. A battle erupted among the roots and fruit. Lightning clashed with wind, sand with shadows. Kiyomi and Daichi fought as hard as Team 7, rivalries forgotten in the face of destruction. Naruto reached for the center, desperate not to let history repeat itself. As the vault trembled, he realized the final challenge wasn't defeating the eclipse, but keeping the garden's secret safe from every nation, including his own. He shouted to his friends, "We can't let anyone have it, not even us. The world has to choose something different." Sakura and Sasuke understood without words. Together, they unleashed a combined sealing jutsu, weaving their own chakra with Naruto's light, the Uzumaki legacy, and the hopes of new allies. The garden glowed, the tree's power pulling inward, roots and seals entwining, hiding the devil fruits once more, perhaps forever. The eclipse were driven out, their ambitions thwarted, but not destroyed. When it was over, Team 7, Kiyomi, and Daichi stood together in the empty chamber, breathing hard, surrounded by echoes of power and sacrifice. They'd kept the world safe, for now. But in every heart, a question burned. Had they changed history, or merely delayed the next reckoning? Above, sunlight broke through the ruined roof, painting the seals with hope and warning alike. Sunlight streamed through the cracked roof of the vault as Team 7, Kiyomi, and Daichi caught their breath. The Garden of Devil Fruits was hidden once again, sealed beneath roots, chakra, and the will of those who chose protection over power. But the air between the allies was uneasy. Kiyomi studied the empty soil where the tree had been, her expression a mix of awe and longing. "We could have remade the world. My village, my family, could have had everything they deserved." Naruto shook his head, exhaustion in every line of his body. "The world doesn't need new gods. It needs friends willing to fight for each other. That's what makes it worth saving." Daichi nodded, brushing dirt from his Suna headband. "Maybe the old ways are dying, but it's up to us to decide what takes their place." Sasuke's eyes lingered on the darkness where the eclipse had vanished. "As long as power exists, someone will chase it. But today we chose to trust each other." Outside, dawn had barely broken over the Whirlpool Valley. Leaf, Cloud, and Suna envoys gathered at the vault entrance, nervous, hopeful, wary. Yamato arrived with backup, surveying the shaken team and nodding in approval as he heard their report. "The world will want to know what happened here," Sakura said softly as she watched the envoys argue over what story to share. Naruto placed his hand on the old seal, feeling the Uzumaki legacy pulsing under his skin. Let them wonder. Maybe it's better if nobody can use that power again. Kiyomi stepped forward, meeting Naruto's gaze. For now, we'll tell our villages we found nothing but old ruins and a warning. But this isn't over, Uzumaki. I'll see you again, next time, as rivals. Naruto grinned. I'll be ready. Daichi offered Sakura a rare, quiet smile. The desert thanks you, healer. And the future might, too. The journey back to Konoha was quiet and thoughtful. They passed through devastated border towns, where rumors of the Devil Fruit Garden were already spreading. Some people looked at Team 7 with hope, others with suspicion. At the gates, Tsunade met them with relief and pride. You did what no one else could. You protected everyone, even those who might hate you for it. Naruto, weary but resolved, replied, I just did what felt right. What my family would have wanted. Sasuke and Sakura stood by him, silent but unbreakable. That night, as the village settled under starlight, Team 7 gathered on the Hokage monument. Sasuke looked at Naruto. If the world tries for that power again, we'll have to stop them, even if it's our own village. Naruto nodded, his voice steady. We'll do it. Together, Sakura released a lantern, its light floating above the village, a silent wish for peace. And far away, in the shadows, the eclipse licked their wounds and whispered of new plans, while other nations wondered about the legacy of the Uzumaki and whether any power could truly stay hidden forever. But for tonight, Konoha was safe, the bonds of friendship shining brighter than any fruit. News of the sealed vault spread through the shinobi world like wildfire, carried on the lips of traders, spies, and hopeful wanderers. Some claimed the legendary Devil Fruit Garden had been destroyed. Others whispered it had simply changed hands, and that the power to reshape the world might lie in Konoha's shadow after all. Inside the leaf, tension mounted. Tsunade called councils daily, her patience thinning with every message from worried daimyo or suspicious allied villages. We promised to share anything we found, one Suna diplomat insisted. A Kumo Jonin added, how do we know you didn't take something for yourselves? Tsunade's eyes flashed with warning. The vault is sealed. We risked everything to keep it from anyone. But the world was not inclined to trust a single village with so much history and so many secrets. Within Team 7, the mood was strained. Sasuke felt the eyes of the village on his back and resented the mistrust, his own fears of betrayal stirring old wounds. Sakura spent long hours at the hospital, hearing villagers mutter about devil fruits, about the dangers of too much power, about whether their heroes were hiding something. Naruto tried to keep the team together, but even he struggled to bridge the gap between loyalty to his friends and the responsibility he now bore. One evening, as dusk settled over Konoha, an urgent summons called Team 7 to the Hokage Tower. Inside, Tsunade's face was grim. A scroll lay open on her desk, the seal of Kumo broken and ominous. Kiyomi has vanished, Tsunade announced. Reports say she went missing on her return to Cloud, along with a Suna Jonin who'd been at the vault. Daichi, the Suna envoy, appeared in the doorway, worry etched in every line of his face. Our own village suspects treachery. They think Konoha and Kumo are hiding a devil fruit together. If this isn't stopped, it could mean war. Tsunade looked to Team 7. Your mission is simple. Find Kiyomi. Find the Suna Jonin. Prove we're not hiding anything. And stop them if they're planning to use forbidden power. Sasuke's fists clenched. Sakura swallowed, anxiety fluttering in her chest. Naruto just nodded. We'll find them. And we'll show everyone that peace is worth more than power. Their search led them to the borderlands once more, following a trail of subtle signs. Singed trees, chakra residue, abandoned camps. Sasuke's Sharingan caught the faintest glimpse of Kiyomi's lightning in the dark. Sakura treated the wounds of a Suna tracker, who spoke of an encounter with the missing Jonin, wild-eyed, desperate, muttering about finishing what the eclipse could not. The trail led into a forgotten gorge, riddled with caves and deadly traps. Here, the team found proof of betrayal. The Suna Jonin had unearthed a single devil fruit seed, likely stolen from the vault in the chaos. And Kiyomi, torn between duty and temptation, was close behind. As Team 7 ventured deeper into the shadows, Naruto felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, knowing that the next choice, the next battle, might not just decide peace or war, but whether even friendship could survive the temptations of ultimate power. And, unseen, the last survivors of the eclipse watched from the dark, waiting for someone, anyone, to stumble. The night air was sharp in the gorge. Deep in the winding canyons, Team 7 pressed on, torches flickering as they searched for Kiyomi and the Suna Jonin. Every step brought more uncertainty. Was this a rescue, a confrontation, or something worse? Sasuke led, eyes blazing red as he scanned for traps. Sakura watched their rear, her senses stretched thin, alert for danger and for the pain of old friendships shattering. Naruto walked in the middle, heart pounding. He remembered Kiyomi's challenge at the festival, the steel in her voice, and he wondered what he'd say if she truly wanted the forbidden power for herself. They found her first. Kiyomi stood on a rocky ledge, lightning crackling at her fingertips, her face pale with strain. Opposite her, the Suna Jonin, eyes wild, clutching a small, swirling fruit that shimmered with heat and shadow. "I don't want to fight you," Kiyomi called to Team 7 as they approached. "But he can't be allowed to take that fruit back to Suna. You know what it would mean." The Jonin's voice was desperate, pleading. "It's my village's only hope. Don't you see? With this, we can stand equal to Konoha, to the world." Sasuke's stance hardened. "And start another war? How many have to die for one village's pride?" Sakura stepped between them, hands raised in peace. "There's another way. There's always another way." But the Jonin wouldn't listen. In a burst of reckless courage, he bit into the fruit. Power surged through him. His skin turned ashen, cracks of lava lighting his arms, his chakra flaring wild and toxic. Kiyomi turned to Naruto, her eyes haunted. "If you won't stop him, I will." Naruto hesitated only a moment. "Not alone, Kiyomi. We're in this together." The battle was fierce and chaotic. The Suna Jonin unleashed molten blasts, earth splitting under his steps. Kiyomi met him blow for blow, her lightning striking like a thunderstorm, but it was clear she was holding back, unwilling to kill. Sasuke's Chidori and Sakura's healing shield worked in tandem, blocking the worst of the destruction from reaching the canyon's fragile edge. Naruto flashed between shadow and light, using the Pika-Pika no Mi to disarm, distract, and, when possible, reach through the madness to the man's heart. "Don't do this," Naruto shouted. "This isn't strength, it's just more pain. I know what it's like to want to protect your home, but this isn't the way." For a moment, the Jonin faltered, but then his new power spiraled out of control, lava and ash threatening to collapse the gorge. Kiyomi and Naruto, together, unleashed a combined attack, a blinding bolt of light and lightning, crackling with promise and warning. Sasuke and Sakura worked to reinforce the canyon walls, buying precious seconds. At last, the Jonin fell, unconscious but alive, the fruit's power spent and unstable. As dawn crept over the rocks, Team 7, Kiyomi, and the fallen Jonin sat together, exhausted, battered, but alive. Kiyomi turned to Naruto, quiet but grateful. "You trusted me when I almost didn't trust myself." Naruto smiled, his own doubts easing. "That's what friends do, even when it's hard." Sasuke looked at the unconscious Jonin. "Let's get him home. Maybe this time, the truth will matter more than power." Sakura nodded, her healing hands steady despite her tears. "We choose each other. That's what makes us strong." Far above, the last eclipse agent slipped away into the dawn, one more secret carried into the next conflict. But for Team 7, this battle had been more than victory. It was a reminder that trust, though fragile, was the only real power that could save them all. Returning to Konoha felt different this time. The gates, once so familiar, seemed to measure Team 7's strength and scars as much as their loyalty. They brought the Suna Jonin, drained, remorseful, washed by guards from both villages, back under a wary sun. Tsunade and the village council met them with a blend of relief and restraint. "You did what was necessary," Tsunade said, her eyes sweeping over Kiyomi as well. "You protected not just the vault's secret, but the fragile trust between our villages." The Suna and Kyumo envoys, faced with proof of the Jonin's instability and Team 7's intervention, agreed, grudgingly, to keep the incident quiet. Daichi, the Suna envoy, offered a stiff bow of thanks to Sakura and her friends. Kiyomi met Naruto's gaze with a weary smile. "I owe you. Someday, you'll call on that favor." But beneath the surface, rumors swirled that Konoha could control devil fruit power whenever it wished. That Team 7's bonds were more dangerous than any single fruit. Days passed. A brief, fragile peace returned. The Hokage hosted a ceremony honoring Team 7, Kiyomi, and Daichi, commending them for service above village and self. But Naruto noticed the shadow in Tsunade's eyes, knew the Hokage was already planning for the next storm. Later, as the team rested in their old training field, Yamato arrived with news. The last known eclipse base, an underground fortress in the north, has gone silent. Our scouts found only empty cells and signs of an experiment gone wrong. Something escaped, and it's heading this way. Naruto's light flickered with dread. You mean a new devil fruit user? Yamato nodded. Or something worse. The Eclipse were obsessed with awakening a new type of power, something that could survive losing its user, something that could spread. Sasuke stood, tension crackling in his voice. Then we stop it before it reaches anyone else. Sakura gathered her supplies, determination steady. No matter what comes, we face it together. Naruto looked to the horizon, feeling the weight of his legacy and the hope of his friends. He understood now. Peace was not a prize, but a promise. It was something you had to fight for, again and again. As Team 7 prepared for their next mission, dark clouds gathered over the world. The news of the vanished Eclipse base spread faster than any ambassador's letter, and in the streets of Konoha, children whispered new legends of monsters in the north and the team that never gave up. And far from the village, in a place untouched by sun or moon, something ancient stirred, hungry for power, hungry for revenge, ready to test the will of the world's last, best defenders. The cold hit them first, a biting wind that seemed to claw at their bones as Team 7, Yamato, and a small scouting squad crossed into the northern lands. Snow covered the world in silence, broken only by the crunch of boots and the occasional warning call of a distant hawk. Naruto wrapped his scarf tighter, golden light flickering in the pale dawn. "What do you think we'll find?" he asked, his breath a mist. Sasuke scanned the horizon, Sharingan shimmering. "If the Eclipse were trying to make a new kind of weapon, it'll be waiting for us." Sakura carried extra medical supplies, her eyes sharp. "Let's hope we can save whoever's left." Yamato led the way, a map tucked inside his cloak. The last report mentioned a fortress buried beneath the old ice fields. The power readings, they weren't natural. They found the fortress half collapsed, the iron gates twisted, seals shattered. Inside, the walls were scorched, strange growths spreading like veins along the stone. Old cages stood open, most empty, a few still smoldering with the aftershocks of vanished power. Naruto's skin prickled. A single, echoing howl rang from the farthest corridor, deep, hungry, inhuman. Team 7 moved quickly, Yamato's with jutsu reinforcing weak floors as they descended. In the lowest chamber, they found what remained of the Eclipse's final gamble, a mass of living shadow, neither beast nor human, flickering with traces of every devil fruit the Eclipse had ever stolen. It changed shape as they watched. Claws, wings, scales, smoke. Eyes opened in the darkness, fixing on Naruto. A voice whispered in a dozen stolen tongues. "Light, power, join us." Naruto's heart clenched. He felt 1,000 lost voices, desperate for meaning, reaching for his hope. Sasuke launched a bolt of lightning, splitting the shadow. Sakura flanked with Yamato, barriers, and would holding back tendrils of living darkness. But each attack only fed the thing's hunger, each strike making it stronger. Naruto stepped forward, light growing so bright it hurt to look at. "You're not just a monster. You're all the pain the Eclipse left behind, all the people they used, all the power they couldn't control." The shadow lunged, a hurricane of memory and rage. Naruto didn't fight it. He faced it. He reached into the swirl of agony, letting his own memories, the friends he'd saved, the enemies he'd forgiven, the hope he refused to lose, merge with the mass. Golden light met shadow, not to destroy, but to heal. Slowly, the darkness recoiled, breaking apart, voices fading into peace. With a final cry, the thing dissolved, leaving only a faint, gentle glow where the worst wounds had been. Team 7 stood in silence, the weight of what they'd ended settling over them. Sakura moved to Naruto's side, her smile trembling with relief. Sasuke let out a breath, tension finally draining away. Yamato, ever calm, nodded. "You didn't just stop it. You saved it." Naruto gazed at the fading light. "I think sometimes you have to forgive what you can't fix, even in the darkest places." They left the fortress as the snow began to fall again, carrying word that the last shadow of the Eclipse was gone. But as they made their way south, Naruto looked to the horizon, knowing the world would always hold new threats, new darkness, and that their fight for peace would never truly end. Yet for now, the light they carried together was enough to drive back even the longest night. By the time Team 7 reached the gates of Konoha, the first hints of spring were in the air, buds swelling on trees, the scent of earth replacing winter's chill. Word of their victory in the north had arrived ahead of them, and for the first time in weeks, villagers lined the streets not out of fear, but to welcome their heroes home. Naruto grinned, waving his children raced beside him, asking to see his light powers. Sakura laughed, her arms full of gifts pressed into her hands by grateful families. Sasuke walked a little behind, quietly pleased to see old friends and new faces welcoming him too. At the Hokage Tower, Tsunade met them with a relieved smile. "You've done more than anyone could ask," she said. "The world owes you, but so does Konoha." The council agreed to a rare festival, the Festival of Thanks. Lanterns and streamers covered the village. Musicians filled the air with song, and every clan contributed to a feast that stretched from the academy to the main square. For one night, there were no rumors of war, no talk of devil fruits, no shadow of the eclipse. Just laughter, stories, and the taste of hard-won peace. Team 7 found themselves at the center of it all. Shikamaru challenged Naruto to a cloud-watching contest. Naruto lost, but not before making the clouds glow with flashes of golden light. Ino and Sakura sang a silly duet, drawing cheers. Sasuke let Lee talk him into a friendly spar in front of a delighted crowd, both holding back just enough to make it a show. Late in the evening, as fireworks exploded overhead, Kiyomi appeared at the edge of the crowd. She offered Naruto a rare smile and a note. "Cloud is sending teams farther than ever before," she whispered. "Rumors say something is stirring in lands beyond ours, a power that doesn't fit any devil fruit legend. Be ready, Uzumaki. This world is changing again." Naruto nodded, his heart steady. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." As the festival wound down, Team 7 gathered beneath the lantern-lit trees. Sakura leaned against Naruto's shoulder. "Do you ever think about the future? About where all this leads?" Naruto looked at his friends, at the village safe for tonight, at the stars shining above. "All I know is, as long as we're together, I'm not afraid of anything." Sasuke gave a rare, genuine smile. "Idiot. But you're right." Above them, the fireworks faded, but the bonds they'd forged glowed brighter than ever, lighting a path into the unknown. And in the silent spaces between lands, new threats gathered, watching and waiting. But for tonight, hope reigned in Konoha. The peace after the Festival of Thanks lasted only days. A messenger arrived from the distant port of Umi no Kuni, the land of sea, bearing news that troubled every village. Merchant ships had vanished, unnatural storms blocked all passage, and the few survivors spoke of a force in the ocean unlike any jutsu or devil fruit seen before. Tsunade called Team 7, Kiyomi, now serving as Cloud's official envoy, and Yamato to a private council. "There are whispers of a power awakening on an island no chart shows, a place even devil fruit legends avoid," she explained, tapping an old, water-stained map. "If something new is rising, we need to know what, and if it's friend or enemy." Naruto's eyes sparkled with a familiar excitement. "So, we're going on a voyage?" Sasuke grunted. "If the old rules don't apply, we should expect the unexpected." Sakura smiled, her nerves steadied by the trust of her team. "Whatever it is, we face it together." Tsunade nodded. "You leave at dawn. Trust no one. And if you can't stop what you find, come home alive." Their journey began at the southern docks, where the sea smelled of salt and possibility. The ship was small but fast, crewed by shinobi sailors from every allied nation, each one trained to spot threats no ordinary eye could see. Kiyomi watched the waves, her usual bravado tempered by unease. "Cloud has old stories about the edge of the world. Most end badly." Naruto laughed, leaning on the rail beside her. "Good thing we're not most people." As the ship pushed into open sea, storms gathered on the horizon. Sakura attended to the crew as rough waters tossed the boat. Sasuke and Yamato traded watches through the night, their senses sharp for anything unnatural. Then, just before dawn, the wind stopped. The world went silent. A wall of mist rose ahead, thick, impenetrable, and cold as death. The ship slowed, the crew tense. From the mist, a voice drifted, unfamiliar, melodic, and chilling. "Turn back. This is not your world." The crew froze. Naruto's light flickered uncertainly. Kiyomi gripped her kunai, her nerves steadying as she caught Sasuke's determined look. "We go on," Naruto said, voice ringing clear. The ship pierced the fog. Ahead, an island appeared. Black cliffs, strange stone ruins, and a feeling in the air like the world's oldest secret waiting to be found. As they stepped ashore, every member of Team 7 felt it. This was the beginning of a new legend, a mystery beyond the reach of devil fruits, jutsu, or even their old fears. And on the cliffs above, hidden figures watched, their eyes shining with an unnatural light. The game had changed, and so had the world. The sand was jet black under Naruto's feet, the sky above gray and still. Team 7, Kiyomi, Yamato, and their shinobi crew fanned out along the shore, senses tingling. The entire world seemed to hold its breath. Sakura glanced nervously at the stone ruins rising from the island's heart. Nothing here feels right. Not chakra, not nature, not even time. Sasuke's Sharingan flickered. "I can't see any chakra signatures, but there are presences here. Old ones." Kiyomi threw a stone toward the jungle. It hovered in the air, then slowly sank, like the island itself was deciding whether to accept it. Yamato, ever the calm in any storm, marked their position and checked for familiar landmarks. These formations, no record of them exists, not in any nation's history. Naruto stepped forward, letting the light of the Pika-Pika Nomi dance at his fingertips. But instead of its usual easy brilliance, the glow felt muted, like the island itself was swallowing it whole. For the first time in a long while, Naruto felt truly powerless. They moved inland, following a trail of ancient carvings, symbols that didn't match any known language, spirals and stars interwoven with strange depictions of half-human, half-beast figures. As they passed beneath a stone archway, a chill swept over the group. Suddenly, the world shifted. Shapes flickered in the corners of their eyes, memories not their own whispering in unfamiliar voices. Kiyomi grabbed Naruto's arm, her bravado gone. "Did you hear that?" Before Naruto could answer, a figure emerged from the mist. Not a shinobi, not a devil fruit user. She was tall, ageless, robed in flowing gray, her eyes reflecting both sea and storm. "You are not the first to seek this place," she said, her voice echoing with power. "And you will not be the last. Why do you come?" Naruto stepped forward, finding his courage. "There's something dangerous here, something the world isn't ready for. We came to protect it, to protect everyone." The woman studied each of them, her gaze lingering on Naruto, then Sasuke, then Sakura. "You bring light, and shadow, and healing. But the island chooses what it will give. It cannot be conquered, not by jutsu, not by fruit, not by force of will." Sasuke, wary but respectful, asked, "What are you?" The woman's smile was enigmatic. "I am the warden. I keep the old powers sleeping." She turned and gestured for them to follow. "If you would face what comes, you must leave behind what you think you know. There are rules here older than chakra, older even than the will of fire." Team 7 exchanged glances, fear, curiosity, and determination warring in their eyes. They followed the warden deeper into the ruins, the island's mysteries pressing closer with every step. Above them, the mist parted for a moment, and Naruto glimpsed more figures, shadows with eyes like molten silver, watching, waiting to see what these children of a new age would do. And beneath their feet, the island itself seemed to wake, hungry for answers, ready to test the heart of every hero. The ruins grew stranger as the warden led Team 7 into the island's heart. Walls twisted in impossible angles. Light and shadow warped with every step. Sakura kept close to Naruto and Sasuke, each sense stretched taut. Even Kiyomi, proud and brave, moved with caution, her hand never far from her kunai. Finally, they entered a vast chamber beneath a stone dome. The warden raised her staff. A pulse of energy swept the room, and suddenly, every devil fruit power and jutsu flickered, weak, unpredictable, almost useless. "This is a place of truth," the warden intoned. "Here, you face what came before the world you know. Here, power is not a gift, but a test." On the floor, mosaics depicted a history even the Sage of Six Paths might have called myth. Before chakra, before the villages, the world was shaped by something deeper, raw will, hope, and fear made manifest by the courage of a few and the greed of many. "You wish to protect this age," the warden said. "But are you ready to see what came before?" Without warning, the stones around them shimmered. From the mosaic rose living forms, creatures of thought and memory, neither chakra nor devil fruit, but ancient avatars of human emotion. One, a figure of fire and wrath, turned its gaze on Sasuke. Another, made of sorrowful mist, reached for Sakura. A third, pure gold and flickering light, beckoned to Naruto. Naruto's hands glowed, but the Pika-Pika Nomi would not answer. He realized, with a jolt, that only his will, his own soul, could shape the fight here. Sasuke faced the fire, its words echoing his doubts. Will you always be driven by revenge, even after vengeance is gone? He clenched his fists, remembering his journey, his friends, and answered, no, I'm more than my past. The fire shrank, then bowed, leaving him shaken but whole. Sakura stood before the mist, which whispered, how many wounds can you heal? How many can you not? Tears filled her eyes, but she did not flinch. I can't heal everything, but I will never stop trying. The mist dissipated, gentle as rain. Naruto stepped forward, facing the avatar of light. Its voice was his own. If your light vanishes, what will you be? He thought of the times he'd felt alone, powerless, the moments when all he could do was stand tall and hope. Even if I have no power, I'll never stop fighting for my friends. My light is theirs, and theirs is mine. The avatar smiled, merging into him, filling him with a warmth deeper than any devil fruit could grant. Kiyomi faced a shadow of doubt, and in her own way, by standing beside Team 7, refusing to let pride keep her alone, she too passed the trial. The warden nodded, her face grave but approving. You have seen what lies beyond strength, what endures when all gifts fail. Remember this, for the darkness that comes next will not be beaten by power alone. With that, the chamber's light returned, chakra and devil fruit energy slowly awakening. But the island shuddered. Something old, something sealed beneath the stone, was stirring. The real test was yet to come. As Team 7 left the chamber, they knew, whatever awaited them, they would face it not just as shinobi, but as people whose greatest power was the will to rise, together, in the very first dawn of a new world. The air trembled as Team 7 and their allies emerged from the warden's trial chamber. A rumble shook the ground, subtle at first, then rising to a roar as ancient seals broke, one by one, deep beneath the ruins. Naruto looked to the warden, who gazed into the darkness with worry. What's happening? He demanded. She answered, voice haunted. The trial was meant to prove your hearts, but something imprisoned here has sensed your courage, and now it wants to test your world itself. Stone split. The ground beneath the ruins collapsed, opening into a vast abyss. Shadows poured upward, cold and powerful, coalescing into a monstrous figure, part beast, part storm, with a voice like 1,000 regrets. I am the echo, it thundered, born of every wish, every fear, every unbalanced hope the old world left behind. Sasuke drew his blade, his Sharingan blazing. Sakura steadied her stance, hands already glowing with healing chakra. Kiyomi summoned lightning, her eyes sharp with new resolve. Naruto felt the Pika-Pika Nomi awaken, but its light flickered, almost as if it, too, was afraid. The echo lashed out, its arms stretching like darkness itself. Chakra and devil fruit powers sputtered, unreliable. Every jutsu, every fruit ability was weakened, forcing Team 7 to rely on instinct, teamwork, and trust. The fight was chaos, Sasuke's speed and Kiyomi's lightning working in bursts, Sakura shielding and reviving, Yamato shaping the earth to protect their backs. But the echo was everywhere, its voice in their minds, dredging up memories and regrets. You will fail, as all who came before. Your strength is fleeting. Your hope is a lie. Naruto heard it echo in his own doubts. For a moment, he faltered. Then Sakura's shout cut through. You're not alone, Naruto. We never were. He remembered the trial, remembered that his power came not from light, but from bonds. Drawing strength from his friends, Naruto's light steadied, then blazed. He reached for the others, Sasuke, Sakura, Kiyomi, Yamato, pulling them together. We fight as one, Naruto called. Our hearts, our will, are stronger than any curse. Their chakra linked, glowing brighter with each word of encouragement, each memory of victory, each promise never to give up. For a moment, the echo hesitated, its form shuddering as the bonds between Team 7 glowed with undeniable power. Seizing the chance, Naruto and Sasuke combined their attacks, light and lightning, will and memory, striking at the echo's heart. The beast howled, its form unraveling, breaking into fragments of shadow that faded into the wind. As silence returned, the ruins shimmered with a warm light, the ancient power acknowledging their triumph. The warden bowed her head in gratitude. You have done what no shinobi or legend could. You showed the world that true strength is not in power, but in unity and forgiveness. The mist thinned. The island, no longer hostile, felt welcoming for the first time. Naruto fell to one knee, exhausted but filled with a peace he'd never known before. Sasuke rested a hand on his shoulder, a silent thank you. Sakura hugged them both, and even Kiyomi smiled, a true smile, full of wonder and hope. In the distance, ships approached, other nations, drawn by rumors of the awakened island. But whatever they sought, Team 7 knew. The heart beneath the stone belonged not to power, but to the promise they carried home. The voyage home was different. The sea was calm, the sky wide and blue. But in the hearts of Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and their allies, something profound had shifted. They left the island with no treasure, no new jutsu, not even a devil fruit seed. Only the memory of a bond tested beyond the limits of power, and the sense that a burden had been lifted from the world. As the ship sailed into the harbor at Konoha, word spread faster than the wind. The village gathered on the docks, villagers and shinobi from every clan, eager to see what the heroes would bring. Kiyomi paused at the gangplank, glancing at Naruto. What do we even tell them? Naruto smiled. The truth, that we faced the oldest fear and chose hope. That we found nothing we could take, but everything we needed. Sasuke stepped onto solid ground, feeling, for the first time, a sense of belonging that didn't depend on strength alone. Sakura met her parents' embrace, tears of joy mixing with relief. Yamato reported to Tsunade, his eyes shining with pride in his students. In the Hokage Tower, Team 7 met with Tsunade and envoys from every allied village. Naruto spoke simply and honestly. There are things out there older and bigger than any jutsu or devil fruit. We didn't conquer the island. We listened, learned, and proved we could change. Some elders grumbled, demanding proof. Others sat in thoughtful silence, sensing that the world truly had shifted. Kiyomi spoke next, her voice ringing clear. We have a choice. Chase after more power, or build a future where we trust each other. My village chooses the second. I do too. Daichi, representing Suna, agreed. Slowly, even the doubters nodded, the tide of suspicion and rivalry ebbing just a little. That night, Team 7 gathered one last time at the Hokage monument, overlooking a village blanketed in gentle starlight. Sasuke broke the silence. We changed things, not with new power, but by refusing to let old wounds rule us. Sakura looked at Naruto, hope in her eyes. Do you think it'll last? Naruto gazed out over Konoha, then at the horizon beyond. I think, as long as we remember what it felt like on that island, as long as we fight for each other, not just ourselves, it will. The future was uncertain. The world was still full of devil fruits, of secrets, of darkness and light. But for tonight, they had peace. They had each other. And as the first dawn broke over the village, Naruto made a promise, not just to his friends, but to everyone who would one day call him Hokage. No matter what comes, I'll never stop believing. Not in myself, not in you, not in us. The new world was waiting, and Team 7 was ready to meet it. Spring unfurled over Konoha, bringing cherry blossoms and a sense of anticipation. For the first time in history, all the great villages agreed to meet not for battle, but for celebration. Tsunade called it the Festival of Unity, a week of peace, shared games, and stories, meant to set a new tradition for a world that had almost been torn apart. Naruto threw himself into preparations, helping string lanterns from rooftops and teaching kids from other villages how to make the festival's special fireworks. Sasuke coordinated security with envoys from Suna and Cloud, his presence a silent promise that the old grudges would not be allowed to flare again. Sakura led a team of medics offering free care to every guest, earning praise and respect from foreign ninja who'd once seen Konoha as a rival, not a friend. The village overflowed with colors, music, and laughter. Old enemies traded stories. Young shinobi swapped headbands, and every clan offered a dish from its homeland to a banquet that stretched the length of the market street. But unity was not without its shadows. On the third night, a masked figure slipped into the festival, a survivor of the eclipse, carrying the last devil fruit seed, its power dark and coiling. Naruto, always the first to sense trouble, intercepted the figure near the lantern-lit river. The eclipse survivor, eyes full of desperation, offered Naruto the seed. This is the last true devil fruit. If you take it, you'll never have to fear anyone or anything again. You can protect your friends, rule the world. Naruto stared at the fruit, feeling its dark promise, and for a heartbeat, he remembered every moment he'd been powerless, every loss, every doubt. But then he thought of his friends, the bonds that had saved him time and again, and shook his head. "I don't need more power," Naruto said softly. "I have everything I need right here." He tossed the seed into the river. The water glowed, then swallowed it, the light fading for good. The eclipse survivor fell to his knees, tears on his mask. Then, "There's nothing left." Naruto knelt beside him. "There's always something left. Start again. Choose hope." By dawn, word of the event spread through the festival, not as a scandal, but as a legend. The story of the boy who could have been a god and chose to be a friend instead. Sasuke clapped Naruto on the shoulder, pride in his rare smile. "You ended it for good." Sakura beamed. "You did what no one else could. Maybe what no one else would." Even Tsunade wiped a tear from her eye as the first rays of sunlight touched the village. That night, lanterns floated up into the sky, one for every village, every hope, every promise. Naruto watched them rise, feeling lighter than he ever had. He'd been given every temptation and turned them down. What he'd gained, instead, was something even the old world could never touch. A future, shared, uncertain, but bright as the dawn. As the Festival of Unity reached its final day, Konoha sparkled with hope. Villages once divided by war now danced together. Rival clans shared their legends over fires that burned into the night. Naruto watched it all with a heart at peace, his friends beside him, his village safe. The weight of old temptations finally lifted. But as dusk fell, a strange hush came over the village. A stranger entered the square, tall, ageless, robed in silver and midnight blue, eyes reflecting countless distant stars. No one sensed chakra, no hint of devil fruit power. And yet, the world itself seemed to pause as he stepped onto the stage at the center of the square. He bowed to Tsunade, then looked directly at Naruto. "I am no shinobi, nor child of this world." The stranger spoke, his voice deep and kind. "I have watched as you rose from scorn to hope, from loneliness to legend. But before this new world is truly born, one last question must be answered." He turned to the crowd. "What makes a hero when there is no enemy left to fight?" A ripple of confusion swept the villagers. Naruto stepped forward, feeling the eyes of all his friends, Sasuke, Sakura, Kiyomi, the whole world, on him. He tried to answer. "To protect the people you love. To never give up, even when you're scared. To stand for what's right." The stranger smiled, but shook his head. "What about when the darkness is gone? When no one needs saving? When your power is no longer needed? What are you then?" Naruto paused, thinking of the empty vault, the island's heart, the river where the last fruit had vanished. He looked at the crowd, not for applause, but for truth. "I'm just a person, a friend, a son, a teammate. Maybe being a hero isn't about fighting at all. Maybe it's about helping the world grow so no one has to fight the way I did." The stranger's eyes softened. "Then show me." A pulse of energy shimmered across the festival. For an instant, everyone in Konoha felt the weight of their dreams, fears, and regrets. Then the hope that bound them all. Sasuke reached out to Naruto, a silent brotherly pact. Sakura's hand found his, steady and warm. Children laughed, lanterns floated, old enemies forgave. The stranger bowed. "You have answered, not with power, but with peace. The world is ready for its new age." He vanished, leaving only a lingering sense of starlight and wonder. That night, the Festival of Unity ended not with a battle, but with a promise that heroes are not just born in war, but in every act of kindness, every choice to believe in tomorrow. As the stars blazed overhead, Naruto stood at the heart of his village, no longer just a hero, but a leader, a friend, and a boy who had finally come home. But as the dawn rose, a whisper of wind carried one last question. Would peace endure? Or would the world, someday, need heroes again? Naruto smiled, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. Morning over Konoha was gentle, almost shy. The Festival of Unity had left the village quieter, but charged with new possibility. Banners still fluttered from rooftops, laughter drifted from the training fields, and everywhere, people looked at each other, not as strangers, not as rivals, but as neighbors. Friends, on the Hokage monument, Naruto stood with Sakura and Sasuke, watching the village wake. He felt lighter than he could ever remember, like every old wound, every lonely night, had finally led him here. Tsunade joined them, her face proud but tinged with nostalgia. "You three changed the world," she said, her voice rough with feeling. "Not just with power, but with your hearts." Sasuke gazed out at the horizon. "There'll be more challenges. Maybe even more darkness, somewhere out there." Sakura nodded, resolute. "But we're ready, and we'll always have each other." Naruto grinned, the sunrise gilding his hair with gold. "We kept the promise. We didn't just protect Konoha. We showed everyone it's possible to be more than what you're born with. To change." Down below, new genin trained in the square, some wielding strange devil fruit powers, others mastering traditional jutsu. Shikamaru wrangled a team of overeager kids, while Ino and Choji debated over breakfast dumplings. Kiyomi prepared to return to Cloud, her parting gift to Naruto a token etched with both their village symbols, a reminder that rivals could be friends, and friends could be family. By noon, messages arrived from every corner of the world. Suna, Kiri, Kumo, even distant lands beyond the maps. All promised a future where the old cycle of violence and vengeance would be challenged by new bonds. But change, Naruto knew, wouldn't happen overnight. There would still be losses, still be struggles. The world would always need people willing to walk forward, even when the path was uncertain. At sunset, Team 7 gathered one last time beneath the cherry trees outside the village walls. Sakura packed away her medical supplies, pausing to look at the boys she'd grown up with. Sasuke sheathed his sword, the old anger replaced by something steadier, purpose and peace. Naruto, the boy who had once been shunned for what he carried, now stood at the center of his own legend. But he didn't feel alone. He didn't feel like a monster or a chosen one. He just felt right. They sat in companionable silence as fireflies flickered, the last warmth of daylight painting their faces gold. Finally, Naruto stood. "I don't know what comes next," he said, voice soft but unbreakable. "But I know we'll face it together. Even if we're on different roads, wherever the light goes, I'll follow." Sakura smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. Sasuke nodded, a rare warmth in his eyes. They left the clearing together. 3 friends, 3 futures, bound by everything they'd lost and everything they'd found. Above the village, the first stars appeared, and with them, 1,000 new dreams. Naruto paused one last time atop the monument, looking out at a world forever changed. And somewhere, far beyond the land of fire, a new adventure began to stir, a call not just for heroes, but for anyone brave enough to hope. The legend wasn't over. It was just beginning. The world slept beneath a sky of infinite stars. Konoha's lanterns glimmered, shining on peaceful streets and open gates. In distant lands, children played at being ninja, some running like the wind, some shimmering with newfound powers, all dreaming of legends born from hope, not fear. On the edge of the fire country, a lone traveler watched the horizon, cloaked, patient, a strange fruit hidden in their pack. Something new, something unknown. They smiled, remembering stories of a boy who turned light itself into a promise. "Tomorrow," the traveler whispered, "the adventure begins again." Far to the west, the clouds gathered. Old enemies nursed new ambitions. In the land of waves, a flash of light danced across the sea. And somewhere, a shadow, neither friend nor foe, waited for the day when peace would be tested once more. But for now, the world spun on in hope. And in Konoha, Team 7 slept beneath a gentle dawn, ready for whatever came next. And that wraps up today's story. What if Naruto ate Pika-Pika fruit? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did putting it together. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment with your thoughts or your own what-if ideas. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.